Street Talk time, and funny week this week. There was yet again an awful lot of the Joel story, wasn't there? We've had the flashbacks returning, Gemma, just for 2 of the episodes, and some of them were a bit, low effort flashbacks as well. I thought
this week was a bit disappointing.
I thought I'm not going to be raving about this week, to be fair, and yeah, I don't know.
What? Did we just talk about it?
Okay, fine, let's talk about it. We've got the Briefs Down storyline first. Up next, the Apollo space program.
That's hilarious.
Well, it did kind of make me wonder when I was putting this the list together, like, when they were deciding behind the scenes at Coronation Street, what should we do with Paul's ashes? They'd literally someone to that Apollo, launch him into space, of course, and that's where it came from, because I'm still not convinced that that's exactly what Paul would have chosen.
No, it's ridiculous.
It's a little odd, but we'll talk about that one next, and everything that was going on with Dev and Bernie as well. Sassy Cassie, Steve's new lassie, she's in there. They've done the deed, Gemma. Steve and Cassie, they're an item, and then they're split up again. And she's bogged off to where are they going? Porto. Okay.
It's a place.
It's a place that they've been to, and those were kind of the main stories. I don't know. A Broadland, Frail Gail, Toya Nix Leanne's boyfriend, and Radcliffe's redemption popping in at the end of the week. It seems like Mason's trying to be being redeemed. What do you think? Are we supposed to be liking him now, or being sorry for him?
Yeah,
because I've kind of quite enjoyed Luca Toole in that role anyway. But as somebody who's like a school bully, he's stayed in the show a lot longer than that type of character usually does. And there's something going on with his brother, who again still hasn't made a proper full face-to-face conversation appearance. He's got these bruises on his cheek. I'm thinking that they're maybe trying to redeem him, because I don't think he's going to end up being Joel's murderer, so they're not going to be locking him away anywhere.
No, first in, last out.
Yeah, but I think that having a character who has been
first in, first out.
I think having a character who has been as vile as Mason was is going to be a difficult one to redeem. So I don't know.
I think they don't care, honestly.
They're just
they're just steamrolling it through. Go, now you like him, okay? But it seems like I'm feeling a bit negative today. I've got a very bad stomachache, and I've been suffering quite badly over the last couple of days. Michael's been putting up with me, so I think all of my evil bile and nasty stomach acid is going to spew forth in my words.
It's not been too bad a week. It's not been too bad, but we've certainly got a few things that we haven't...
Some just things, like today's episode, I've watched it, I was like, it just felt off. It just felt like... a lot of things happened that didn't make sense.
Also, if you're kind of not jamming with all the police stuff in Coronation Street, then this would be another week that wasn't necessarily your bag.
Look, I'm just going to skip ahead quickly to explain the things that really confused me.
Go on, get it out of your way. Get your list out.
So number one, you've got the Winter Browns, which the continual misadventures of their financial problems, and I've been trying really hard to be sympathetic, because there are people who are suffering a lot worse than even Gemma and Chesney do, and it is a struggle, and I don't know how people cope, and like the misery of just being continuously unable to pay your bills and having mouth to feed is awful. But the longer they dwell on their decision, like their stories and what the decisions that they make, the more I start to think this is all self-inflicted, and it feels like it's been written by a bunch of evil Tories trying to make out that everyone on benefits is like a scrounging moron who doesn't understand how to balance a budget. Because in a month's worth of mishaps with their money, and I am going to include Bernie in this because it's not really clear whether she lives with them now or what, but their finances...
I can't remember whether she lives with them or with Dev or not.
Well, they've kind of enmeshed their finances, haven't they? So, and sometimes she's responsible for the bills and sometimes she's not. But in this month, they've paid for a space launch of somebody's dead ashes, which costs about £2,500. They've paid for somebody to go skiing on holiday and also had to pay extra to go for them all the equipment and to go on the plane. Twice, because they missed the flight the first time. And then today they were like, oh, you know what, we paid £2,500. We've already had 2 funerals for this man. we've just got the video back from the space launch that already cost us £2,500. Why don't we have a party and get it catered?
Yeah, but I think
when was the last time you or I ever paid for anything to be catered?
Yeah.
That is like, sorry, but that's a really middle class thing to have your event catered somewhere. It is.
I think some of this money is coming from Dev. To be fair,
Gemma said, "Oh, we can't afford £200. We'll just do it ourselves. We'll get Chesney to make burgers." Oh my God, you really think it's going to cost less to make burgers for everybody than it will to have a bunch of sandwiches and sausage rolls? The whole thing, it drives me mad. It's like the Daily Mail wrote it about benefit scroungers.
Do you see what I mean? Yeah, I do. And obviously Rita's had her donation, hasn't she?
Yeah, but she wants the money back.
Yeah, that is true. That's true.
And I
think that Dev has been a bit of a donor.
Dev paid for the sandwiches.
Didn't he pay for the space launch?
I don't know.
I don't remember. I'm not sure.
But at the end of the day, Michael, if you've got a family who are struggling as much as they keep saying they are...
Oh, no, I get it.
Wouldn't the £2,500 be much better spent on, like, instead of stealing children's shoes from shops, buying them?
Okay, so that's your irk number one.
The second thing that really irked me was the fact that it turned out that it was Betsy who shopped Swain in to work because she was worried about her. Right, first of all, the fact that Betsy thinks that her mum is a murderer and the only really response she's got is kind of like waving her arms wildly and grimacing at her and accusing her of doing it. Like, she hasn't explained why that's a bad thing. Is she upset because she's worried her mum's going to go to prison, or is she sad that her mum's a murderer and she's like morally against murder? Because it can't be both of those things, I don't think. You know what I mean? She's just mad that she's a killer, but she seems kind of relaxed about it, even though she's shouting a lot. Like, I would do more than shout if I thought my mum genuinely killed somebody.
Well, you can't swear on Coronation Street, that's the thing, can you?
And then she goes and reports her, and the number one that the police like, oh, maybe this is what they would do. Okay, right, you're suspended. We have to investigate this. Number two, Swain goes in the same day and goes, I found out who it was. It was my daughter. She's just winding me up. And they went, understandable. We'll just cancel it then. That's fine. You can just have a holiday if you'd prefer. And she goes, oh yeah, I'd quite like a few weeks off. What? That's balmy. I'm sorry, but surely if you had an employee who had such a messy personal life that their daughter was reporting them for harassment, and they were like, can you just be cool about it and not make a fuss? Wouldn't you sort of start to call them in for like special meetings to find out what the hell's going on in their home life, that their kids trying to ruin their career?
Well, you forget there are only 3 detectives that work at Weatherfield police stations.
They've got a lot of work to do. Today, but Friday's episode just had loads of plot threads where it didn't
quite gel with you, did it?
It just kind of fell flat and it felt a bit silly. And also, Mason saved Liam's life.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just, and it wasn't even the main part of the story of that episode, which is kind of indicative of like the weird like hyperbole that happens in every episode. Where, I mean, normally, like 20 years ago, if somebody nearly got run over, that would be the biggest thing that happened all week. It wasn't even the biggest thing that happened on Friday.
Probably wasn't even the biggest thing that happened in that part of the episode.
No, and the amount of people that have nearly been run over on Rosamond Street, considering how long that bloody street is absolutely ridiculous.
You can't get a good speed up there, can you? What was Chesney doing?
He was just mumbling along.
How are you feeling about the whole whodunit situation at the moment?
I'm getting a bit frustrated because I just want them to do it properly instead of like spreading it out.
It's a funny kind of way that they've sorted it, isn't it? Because I don't know how long we've got left until the reveal is made, but there's been very little so far that is leading to me to believe it isn't Kit. Right from the beginning, we've said it's Kit, and it's not been done in a way so that if it is revealed to be Kit, we'll go, "Ooh, yeah, we were right." It's more like, well, it was obvious. And sometimes I like to go off on a rant about things that I'm completely...
Yeah, but
turns
what if
out
you're
that
wrong?
Exactly. Sometimes I have ranted about things and been completely wrong about them. But I'm looking through the list of suspects here and thinking, oh, no, it's probably not them, or them. It's kind of... In some way, it's interesting. I don't know what you listeners think about this. You know, the whole building up a picture of all the suspects on the ITV Corrie Instagram. So it started off with, who was it?
I was just
the
trying to
Bailey
see if
boys
I
were
can-
there at
Yeah,
first,
Bailey
were
boys
they?
first.
And then Dee Dee and Swain. So they're all being added to the picture.
No, it wasn't. It was Mason first, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, of course it was Mason. And who thinks that Mason did? Mason didn't do it. I go, come back in, 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it is, and tell me I'm wrong. But has anyone really suspecting almost anybody in that photo so far? This week, Carla was revealed to be a suspect. But
Because she
nobody
walked
really
out-
thinks that Carla did it, do they?
Because she walked out of her
Walked
the
out of
factory
her
and
house
saw
and then
something.
saw something. That was
But we don't know
that was
what
the
it
most
was.
low effort flashback that they've done in this so far. I was like,
Yeah, so-
when the flashbacks came up again on Monday's episode, I was like, oh great, we're in for another week of those. I'm quite enjoying those. But yeah, we've had surprisingly few. We had wing mirror flashback, Carla walking out the factory flashback, Swain having a stop police flashback, and that was about it.
So I think looking at this picture, I think we possibly,
How many more
we've
people
definitely
can we
got
fit in
two
there?
more, I think.
You reckon?
But we could fit in another 5, I reckon, if we had 2 behind the Bailey boys. There's a spare chair here, but Ed's man spreading, so I don't know if anyone can fit there.
So we've got who is left? I had been thinking when they put this idea together that maybe Betsy was going to be there as a suspect, but the way Betsy was acting in this week, there is no way that she actually did it.
No, it would be.
But still,
Yeah.
quite a few of the people, like I said, that have been on this photo so far have also clearly not done it. Carla appeared as a suspect this week, but is Carla actually
They
a
haven't
suspect?
given us any-
They've given us no reason why
They haven't
Carla should
even-
be a suspect.
They haven't even reminded us of her actual motive, which would be that Joel was serving her with papers because
Yeah.
she was slandering
She was
him or whatever
slandering him
it
in
was.
the hotel, wasn't
And
she?
so they had beef there, but that's the only interaction those two had. And she's not got enough of a relationship with Swain at the moment for that to be a motive.
Yeah, I think that Corrie has just had. I think we're going to do a bonus podcast about this at some point. A bit of a funny history with whodunits, where it's often the most obvious person, or it's one of the people that's not on the suspect list. And although I like the idea in some way of adding the characters every episode that they have a flashback, it feels like it's just going to end up with the last person to
Is the one who did
appear
it.
is the one who did it. And it's going to be Kit at the end.
Well, the
I
way
just
that
think it kind of obviously is.
the way that they've put these characters on a level here and how tall they are compared to the background of the picture, I don't think he'd fit in the frame.
Surprise, we've extended the top of the picture.
I think it would be hilarious if they filled the picture up and then the last shot of the actual person who did it just comes out of the lift. Because the lift is closed in this picture, but you could open it and have
It's
someone
me,
inside
Ken.
going, with a crowbar going, uh-oh, wrong floor.
Yeah, so I've just been with and the other thing as well, as can sometimes be the case with these sort of whodunits, is that so many of the people there are not major players, with the Anne Malone Frank Foster whodunit, and that was going back 12 years or so. Everybody who was a suspect was like, oh my gosh, if any of these killed Frank Foster, that's huge, these are all main characters. Then it was a letdown because it was Anne Foster. Did I say Malone? I can't remember.
Yeah, you did.
Sorry, she certainly didn't do it.
I was not.
She was
paying
on
attention.
ice for years before that. And then it's like, surprise, it's none of these main characters. It's just this woman who's been in the show barely any time. And it feels like it might be this. Because out of all of our suspects, is Kit the newest? Is he the most recent addition? He is, isn't he?
But we also think it's the dad.
Oh yeah, or it could be Gus, and that's the other one. In my head, one or the other. Kit, Gus. It doesn't particularly bother me because neither of them would have any, I would feel, particularly exciting long-term consequences. It wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, Kit's a murderer, I don't believe it. Oh, Gus, but who'd have thought that he would ever do something like that? It's you want to be shocked, and maybe I still will be, and maybe I'm getting my knickers in a twist about something again. But out of all of these potential suspects, who do you think would cause the most ripples? Carla, I guess.
Carla.
And after that,
Dee Dee.
maybe Dee Dee, but even she, she's only been in the show a few
I know
years.
you keep saying that, but she's been.
She's a
major-
big character for
she's-
this year.
yeah.
Everywhere.
Has she
I mean,
got
I
the
suppose
most
with
featured
Swain
character?
being in the middle of the Swala stuff at the moment as well, that would be quite a surprise.
That would be.
But
That would cause riots.
I just remember when they did a Who Done It really well, which was the Who Pushed Ken story back in 2017. They had all the suspects out at the beginning. You know, is it Daniel? Is it Phelan? Was Adam a suspect? I can't remember. Was it Tracy? And over the course of that 3, 4, 5 weeks, however long it lasted, maybe it was longer, I remember thinking, oh no, I've changed my mind, and maybe there's this person now. Next episode, oh no, you know what, it could be this person. And nothing that's happened really in the last 4 weeks or however long it's been that this has been going on has swayed me into thinking, I'm completely wrong. It's so.
But they haven't even tried to, though, have they? Because like the last, like you said about the Carla's one, she just walks out of the factory and looks surprised. How does that lead you to go, oh, she's a suspect now? It doesn't make any sense.
Could have been her.
They said she went back to the factory to do some paperwork, and then she came out and looked at someone. Well, we know that Joel wasn't there.
Well, he might have been there.
I know, but he might have been there, but why not?
It doesn't mean she killed him.
The only place that we know Joel was in 2 places. 3 places. He was in his car. He was on the floor outside the car on the street that he lives in, and then he was, or maybe he wasn't, but his car ended up in the viaduct.
Have any of the characters,
and then he was in a river.
Have any of the characters on the suspects list shown any behaviours since the murder that might give them away that they're like secretly bricking it or covering up a murder? No. Mason's been his normal self. Ed, I think he's as honest as the day, as long as Ed. I think Ed's not been in it too much. Even Dee Dee hasn't been in it a whole lot this week. I think she was Monday only. But I think Ed would be he wouldn't be able to cover it up. He's too good a character. He's too nice a guy to have this big secret. I think possibly Ronnie would be quite good at doing a poker face in this situation.
Ronnie's like the outsider for me because he definitely could have done it. But the trouble, what they're doing here is either these are like unreliable narrations, or every time they do a suspect flashback, they're just proving it wasn't them that did it.
Yeah.
Because it's not really. I mean, Dee Dee's one was quite ambiguous, but Ronnie and Ed's one wasn't. We saw what they did. They didn't meet him in their flashbacks, but they tried to.
Swain has been trying to put Kit off the case a little bit, hasn't she? Or,
do you believe her explanation for her flashback that she got run over?
It would have been good to have seen her being run over.
But exactly. So why didn't we then?
No, I think
she's lying.
That would be quite interesting if that was an unreliable narrator. I'm going to say that I do believe her with that one, because as soon as we saw her chasing after that person, you said, I bet she gets run over. I wonder if she gets run over. And then the very next episode, we find out that that's what she's saying it was. I think that she was very clear. She was very clear. Oh, it must be a suicide. It must be a suicide after the first time. After the time,
insistent.
And she was like case closed, whatever. And that is unusual in that if she didn't do it, why would she be so sure about it?
But listen, can I just say a thing about Lisa Swain that I might get in trouble for with the girlies, but you guys got to be patient with me.
Yeah,
I'm not doing that out of malice, okay?
No one's going to interrupt you here.
But listen, she was just a bitch today. Wasn't she?
Was she?
And I don't think she the way they're writing her, and sometimes with characters I will say, I don't like this character because of this, this and this. And sometimes I will say, the way they're writing this character doesn't feel right to me. And with Lisa this week, that's how I feel about her, because she was just being a rampaging, nasty cow, wasn't she, to Daisy and Kit, like, shut up, you're not allowed to talk. I'll make your life a misery if you spread gossip. It's like, it's none of your business what I talk about.
Well, to be fair, Kit shouldn't have been divulging as much as it is the Weatherfield police station's, modus operandi to just tell everybody everything about any case that's been going on.
If they're trying to keep a character likeable, they would be, a sage and wise, look, it's not going to help you to be talking about this kind of stuff. You're going to just mess up the investigation and you're going to hurt people's feelings. And, it's water for ducks back for me because I'm used to it. But other people, if they hear you talking like this about them and accusing them of things they didn't do, you could get yourself in trouble. No, she just went in there and said, I'll make your life miserable if you don't shut up. Which I guess, gumption, but...
I think clearly
she just came across as being a bit of a shirty madam.
I think she must know something. There must be more, but I can't remember who it was she even said that she was chasing when they run her over. Okay, we'll find out when we get to the notes. But she's definitely was a bit shady the next day. She had her phone off, we found out, when it was going on. So there's something more. I've got a feeling that when it does come out, it wouldn't surprise me if it was a whole episode that was a flashback, because there's an awful lot that still needs to be explained. Like, how did Joel get from on the floor outside his apartment to the viaduct, however far away that's supposed to be in the universe?
I'm pretty sure that, there will be an entire episode where Joel is the main character.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think she knows a bit more, but is she a murderer? No way, no. I say at the moment.
And listen, the other thing I wanted to say about her is that I probably would have reacted in the same way. I wish I would, like being very forthright and putting people in their place and not pussyfooting around. That's quite admirable, but it's not really the kind of thing you would write a character if you want them to be super likable.
I don't know. I mean,
Carla was the same. That's why it's kind of interesting to see them going maybe into a relationship together, because they're both a bit mardy and they don't mince their words, which is really refreshing. But Carla in her prime, I think she made a reference to it today, like they call me cowbag or something. That was Carla at her best. So can she cope with Lisa Swain? I don't know.
Well, I'm sure we're going to be finding out at some point soon.
Yeah.
The whole whodunit thing, I'm just a bit hot and cold about. It's losing steam a bit.
I thought it was
only
going to be
because I think I know the answer.
I thought it was going to be more formulaic than it's turning out to be, which I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, because I thought it would be like every episode we find out one major suspect's reason for why they should be a suspect, and we have at least 2 flashbacks. And that hasn't happened at all.
No, it makes me wonder whether next week's going to have any flashbacks or not, because last week we didn't have any. Today we didn't have any. Yeah, and
yes,
I think
today we had the one with Carla going.
No, that was Wednesday's one.
No, it was today.
No, that was Wednesday that Carla had her flashback. For sure. There was none today. It has been a few hours since we watched
It's been a few hours. How can I be expected?
Also, I mean, we have got the possible Max Lauren angle that could... they've been very quiet on
it. They don't end up in the picture, I'm going to be shocked.
I think that who we've got left is Max and or Lauren, plus finally Kit. And I think that might be when it's revealed that it's him. It would be utterly ridiculous. Or Gus. Exactly. I'm like, that would be the most disappointing, I think, if it's Gus.
As I've warned everybody, Joel's not dead.
Yeah, I'm still not sure that that's going to happen, Gemma. Well done for clinging on to that. But
if Kit can delete a row in a spreadsheet, then he can delete a person from the morgue. Or add a new one.
I was a little bit disappointed that we found out. This is again with the end of today's episode. We're skipping around all over the place with this today. That the red car that they've been hunting down all week actually belonged to Kit, didn't it?
Well,
it might.
Hang on.
What?
Possibly, the excuse will be that he didn't want to be the subject of an investigation because he's up to something else. Because don't forget, he's got that illicit activity that he was doing with the T-shirts. So is it possible that he was in the area delivering or picking up money or T-shirts or doing something that he shouldn't have been? And he's like, it's easier for me if I just remove myself because I know I didn't kill him.
Well, it turns out this week there are about as many red cars in Weatherfield as there are crowbars.
Yeah.
Neither of which I think are particularly...
The red car shop and the crowbar shop are right next to each other.
Yeah, they are eating well this week, aren't they? The managers of those
establishments. That's where Chesney should get a job.
Yeah. So I was kind of talking to you about this earlier this week, but we might as well repeat it for the benefit of the tape, as Lisa Swain would say, wondering about who this red car could be, because they were saying on Monday, first idea was it Ronnie, but then he shut that down quite quickly. But then equally I was thinking, because he said, oh no, I crashed into somebody, you can check our insurance details if you like. Was he trying to call their bluff there? And if they did look at any further down that rabbit hole, he'd be like, I've just lost their details.
Because I would need to have crossed that T, wouldn't you? Though?
I was wondering at some point during the week whether Dee Dee went out in Ronnie's car, because after we know that Ronnie and Ed went over to Joel's flat, then they came back, then we know that Dee Dee went out there, and I don't think we saw the car that she came in. So if she took Ronnie's car, and I don't know why she would take his car when she's got her own one there, and she certainly didn't go there, I don't think, with the intention of caving Joel's head in or anything like that, then that could possibly explain what went on there. But then we also, my kind of out of left field theory was, is that David's car? Because we saw him with his red car last week, didn't we? Going to the lock and store place or whatever it was called. And Max and Lauren, they've been very, very quiet. They've not been under the spotlight of suspicion yet, have they? And we first were told, oh, Lawrence was asleep on the sofa. And then it went down the road of, oh no, she was in bed with Max. Oh, bless me. But then we also theorised, did they actually sleep together, or are they just saying that as an alibi for, did they go sneaking out around somewhere? Because the noise in the Platt's back garden on the day that Joel was murdered still hasn't been accounted for. And I was wondering, when we had the Carla flashback on Wednesday, was that going to be something? And I think it probably still is, because Carla saw something outside the factory. I think whoever it is they saw caused that noise in number 8. But anyway,
I think it's Kit that she saw.
I think that's not unlikely that it was Kit.
Because I don't know why Joel would be... it would be a bit weird if Joel was hanging around Coronation Street at the exact same time that every member of the Bailey family was, closing in on his house.
Yeah, I know.
But then he wasn't there, though, was he? So he was sitting outside...
Was he?
No, he was sitting outside his
own
house.
On the floor.
So it can't have been... Well, we've got no idea when all of this happened.
No, the time scale of it, the chronology of the events is still a little bit unclear. So I was wondering whether Max and Lauren went out in David's car and then smashed the side of this other guy's car. But then the obvious downside of that is, well, how has David not noticed that he's got a massive scratch down the side? Or unless it's diamond coated and it can cause scratches, but it doesn't actually get any itself. But I think we're getting into silly territory there.
Why stop now?
It is odd that Max and Lauren have been kept quiet. Are they going to be, the key to unravelling this? Because it's been now 3 weeks worth of investigation, and they've pretty well been able to avoid people suspecting them. But yeah, in my head, they're still clearly there on the suspects list. Maybe that's the other thing that I've got, is there's a slight problem with the way that they're filling up this photo slowly. We know who the suspects are. We know who the suspects are as the viewers. So when, Carla or Ronnie or whoever appears, it's like, oh, it's their turn now. Yes, okay, more people in the show are realising that it could possibly be them that are suspected. Although, again, nobody suspects Carla, do they? No character at all on Coronation Street suspects Carla of doing it. So who's it supposed to be that's suspecting her at the moment? We've always known that Carla was going to be on the suspects list. What would be kind of more interesting to me at the moment is if they throw in a curveball and just get any rando and say, aha, they're a suspect as well. And that might make me think, oh, I never even considered them. Maybe if they can present enough compelling evidence that it could possibly be them. But at the end of the day, I just can't help coming back to the fact that it's probably Kit. Or maybe Gus as a long shot.
Don't forget, though, when they were writing this story, they didn't necessarily... this picture is like a marketing thing, and it is probably separate. I don't...
Yeah, that's a very good point. The people who were storylining it together probably didn't say, oh, what we'll do is...
I mean, if they did, fine, but it's not working out, is it? It would have been better to have had... What would have been better to have had is to have had the picture of all the suspects, and then the flashbacks reveal it wasn't him, it wasn't her, and then you take them out of the picture.
Yeah, that's not a bad one.
Until you're left with the people that everyone actually thinks it could have been.
3.
So the more likely people get removed last, because everyone thinks it's Kit or the dad or...
I've seen some people thinking it's Dee Dee, but I 100% don't buy
And if you worked your way down to that, and then the last episode was like, here's the 3 suspects that it could be, let's find out in this episode which one actually did it.
Well, we can all be backseat storyline producers, can't we?
It'd be so easy to do this if backwards.
Well, I'm still enjoying it.
By which I mean, watch it and then go back in time and write it slightly differently.
Yeah, it's all
Easy.
a whole Captain Hindsight situation.
Oh
isn't
yeah, we're fantastic. Anytime you want to know what you did wrong, let me know and I'll tell you.
Do you want to do the rundown of the main happenings this week in the Briefs Down story,
Do you want me to do it?
Yeah, you
All right,
do it.
then.
You do it. Or do you want me to do it?
You do it then.
Oh, right, okay, but you got
am-
engaged.
listen.
Gemma's having a little look on
Yes,
Twitter
I'm
at the
allowed
moment.
to.
Yeah, that's fine. So we've already talked mostly about the main thing that happened, haven't we? We said this was supposed to be a short one today, so we're going out to the theatre in a couple of hours, so I don't know how that's going to go. Swain is asking Ronnie about Dee Dee in the cafe when Roy comes down from the SWAT.
SWAT.
The SWAT. I don't know, is it Roy? No, it's Carla, I think, comes down, and Swain's all aflutter about her. There were more kind of simmerings. There's still nothing, concrete yet, but I think the Swaler fans are still being kept very much on tenterhooks this week, aren't they? And they're being fed pretty well, but we can't just dive straight into it.
You've got to have your appetisers.
Exactly.
This is the canapé section.
So Swain goes along to the station next, and there's this man there who's having a moan about his catalytic converter that's been stolen. And this is not, he lives in a rough area, doesn't he, down Noble Street, because a couple of weeks ago his car wing mirror was smashed into, and then we get our first flashback of the week. This was a smashback, and we see his wing mirror looking a bit dangly and smashed, and some red streaks where obviously a red car has gone into it.
It was funny because it felt like for a minute that everyone in the whole show, even extras, were
even
going to get flashbacks.
random extra at the police was at the police station was having a flashback. He didn't appear in the photo, did he?
No, he could have done
So
though.
maybe
He did introduce
it was him.
He did give his full name.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's a character.
So we saw this and we're like, okay, great, we're going to find out more that happened this week. Interesting. So Swain corners Dee Dee in the pub later and says, how you doing? And Dee Dee she's finding life a little bit tricky at the moment. She calls it too many tabs open at once, which I enjoyed that analogy. That was a nice one. And Swain opens up about how she went back to work too quickly after Becky died. Dee Dee, you're pushing yourself too hard, love. And then she brings up the smashed wing mirror, which gets Dee Dee having a bit of a flashback. Well, someone anyway. We see the flashback and it's night time. We get to see the same shot of the wing mirror as we saw before, unbroken, car unsmashed, except Joel is reflected in the wing mirror and he's sitting on the floor with his cheek wound as a red car drives past.
Now, if this isn't one of the characters in that scene's flashback, they're kind of breaking their own rules of what a flashback is. Because a flashback, every single time we've seen one, a character's like gone, and then remembered something.
Yeah, there was nobody really to remember.
There was no point of view.
It was just
for
Dee
this.
Dee and Swain, as far as I remember.
But no, what I mean, there was no point of view. You weren't.
You
weren't thinking, oh, this is obviously so and so. It wasn't even a natural place to be standing.
Yeah.
Because you were standing in the middle of the road, looking in the wing mirror artfully. So really, it wasn't a flashback. It was like.
But we know that Dee Dee's been there.
I
mean,
know,
we can pretty much.
But do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't actually a flashback. It was just like back in the day. Because a flashback really needs to be somebody's recollection.
But that's what I'm saying. It could have been Dee Dee's recollection because we know that she goes to Joel in his car. He hasn't got the cut on his cheek. And this one, he did have the cut on his cheek. So I think what's happened here is she's gone to him, like dragged him out the car, or he's got out. There's been some kind of altercation between them. She's lashed out at him, nails, crowbar, whatever. And then he was left there on the floor. And then, yeah, I'm just not sure. But
hang
I
on.
think that then she's gone off. And then this red car that goes past, I mean, that might just be an art, to try a bit of a red herring car. Or it could be then somebody pulling up next to him. Maybe this was Kit, I suppose, in his red car and finding out what's gone on. And maybe... I'm still trying to figure out what happened to make that car, whichever car it was, scrapes by Blokey's car so much. But no, the catalytic converter guy, he wasn't in a car chase, was he?
No, I didn't say that.
So is Joel in a car?
Two cars are driving down the road together, and recklessly, one of them could scrape another car as it's trying to get away.
Yeah, I suppose so.
And also, the other thing you say, oh, how did he get this wound on his cheek? Was it nails or was it crowbar? It was a crowbar because Kit said his wounds were made by a metal object.
Oh, I thought that was just the bonk over the head that finished him off before he went into the river.
It would have been... Again, this is the trouble with this story being told by a soap and not a police procedural show, because there would have been a discussion about he also had a wound on his cheek which was also made by the same object, or he,
Maybe
but they're they're not trying to make they are making a murder mystery story, but not in the same way as a whodunit properly. It's not Midsummer Murders.
It sometimes thinks it is, you're right. I think that Dee Dee made that mark, left him there, kind of licking his wounds. She drives off, and I think that flashback was what she was remembering, because she doesn't really want them to go down that alley anymore, because she knows that she was there. And although she doesn't, I don't believe she thinks she's the murderer, she knows that she's very much implicated, and she's kept quiet about it, hasn't she? And it's too late now to say, oh yeah, I was there actually.
So here's a theory that makes sense with the information we have so far. So we have been making fun of the fact that there seem to be a million crowbars lying around, but it would make sense if this crowbar is the same crowbar that Dee Dee had, that she took from Ronnie's red car after they had been to go and muss Joel up. So for some reason, she gets in someone else's car, not her own car, which is suspicious. I don't understand why you would do that unless you're trying to cover your tracks. So she gets in Ronnie's car, she drives to Joel's place. She finds the crowbar in the car, and it wasn't premeditated, but she grabs it and she goes to smash his car up, realises he's in there. He jumps out and maybe lunges at her. She swings it to protect herself, hits him on the cheek. He falls and collapses on the floor. She jumps back in Ronnie's car, in her haste, scrapes against catalytic converter guy's car and escapes.
It could be, although when we see the red car go past, it's literally leaving the scene, and that other grey car, whatever colour it was, is intact. So
but then there are two red cars.
Well, there are, exactly, and I'm still think that it's perfectly possible that Max and Lauren could have been out driving David's car as well at this point.
The only red car they're looking for is the car that scraped the side.
Yeah. It is interesting though how Ronnie got his car fixed at the garage the very next day, and I know Corrie has coincidences all the time, but that would be a really, really big coincidence, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but the point is
one of the suspects has got his car, looks like he took part in this murder.
But the point is, it didn't necessarily have to have been him who drove the car, but there's only one scenario in which his car would be scratched and he would, no questions asked, get it fixed if it wasn't him that did it, and that was if he was okay for covering for the person who actually did it. And the only one who's a suspect so far who he would have covered for is Dee Dee, because you can see from the conversations that Ed has got no idea that
Ed's got no clue. But yeah, Ronnie could be covering for Dee Dee at this point, I suppose. I don't think we've had too many scenes with the two of those where we'd have had the opportunity to see them kind of giving each other wary glances.
Dee Dee was acting weird for ages around them and not telling them what happened. But if Ronnie already knows, why wouldn't she have said something to him?
I know.
Or why wouldn't there have been a look between them?
Somebody needs to make a supercut of all of the suspect scenes so far in the last month, just so we can look back, because the answer's in there somewhere. What I'm most interested in, really, at this point still, is how Joel got from outside his house to the viaduct
and then the river,
and still going ahead with his plan. I think it was his plan to fake a suicide, wasn't it? Because he was giving away all the money and making himself out look like he was drunk and he wrote
a note.
Yeah, exactly. So all of that happened.
But was he forced to?
And he went ahead with it, even though he'd been in this unexpected fracas with whoever it was. Although maybe, I suppose this could play into his plan more, the fact that...
Well, when he recorded that video and he had the wound on his cheek and he was saying to Dee Dee, he did make some kind of reference that you could have interpreted to mean, Dee Dee, I know you did this to me, but it was a mistake and I forgive you. And I don't know whether he would be hoping that there would be forensic evidence. But no, he's not going to be... He didn't expect them to find his body because he was going to be off...
Yeah, he was going to be over wherever he was that he was...
and I know there was a point at which Swain, was it today or Wednesday, said something like, where was his personal stuff? Like, he didn't have any personal stuff on it with him. You would think that if he was...
You'd pack a bag, yeah.
You would take all your stuff with you. Not if you were planning the suicide, because they would know stuff was missing. I get what she's saying, but it would be too risky. If you're as smart as Joel is, and you really wanted to like say that you had killed yourself, you wouldn't go, I'll just take my medals and my book I'm reading, because I don't know what happened at the end of that, and I don't want to buy another one.
We're a fickle pair, aren't we? We start off the episode moaning about, this whodunit isn't doing the right job for us, so as we unpick this and this, and we think's wrong with it, but we're still getting into some really juicy theories here. I just kind of want to know what it is, don't you?
Yeah, we're the worst, really, aren't we?
I know.
But yeah, okay. I think the pacing, I think, is a bit off, but I am really enjoying all the attention to detail, and I just hope that it pans out. That's the thing is, perhaps it's because Corrie's track record's not been great, and so I'm nitpicking because I've got a cynical mindset coming into it that it's not going to work out, and that's really unfair, I suppose.
I'd like there to be a big surprise. But however it is, I'm sure the episode where it comes out, what actually happened, it's going to be a banger.
Yeah, and there's so many characters that something unexpected is going to happen. Whether or not it's going to be who did it is the unexpected part.
Yeah, because you're right. Just even if it does turn out to be something a bit dull or expected who did it, there is still the potential for other characters to have secrets unravelled or.
Wouldn't that be great if the whole thing was just a massive misdirection, and it's like, who cares who killed Joel? Look what's going on here.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, so back to Monday's episode.
Yeah, we're only on the first.
Yeah.
The first story.
On this very, very short and concise episode we're trying to put together here. So Carla's coming into the pub in the Rovers, and she can't help avoid being asked to join. I think it was Swain. She's still kind of embarrassed around her, isn't she? After the whole near kiss incident a few weeks ago, and they've not been really seeing eye to eye since then. Meanwhile, you got stuff going on with Kit. And Ryan and Daisy. This was the other side to this story this week, wasn't it?
Yes.
Kit, is leading this investigation into finding out who Joel is, but also he's got a few things going on in his personal life, which is basically trying to get into Daisy's knickers. And
it's nice having a proper antagonist character like Kit, who's so self-serving and willing to lie and cheat and manipulate people in a really open manner.
Yeah. Well, he gets Ryan right under his thumb on Monday, doesn't he?
Right.
He's been reeling him in. I don't think he's been purposefully doing it just so that he can get to Daisy, but Monday he kind of steps up and
as soon as he realises he can get information from Ryan, yes, he does it on purpose.
Yeah, he's also trying to plant the seeds with Ryan that Swain is maybe not to be trusted. He's not really a big fan of her. Becky sounded like she was a proper hero, but Swain, Kit's clearly not sure about. This kind of ties into the theory that he was the one responsible for Joel's murder, because he is doing his damnedest to get Swain away from this case, because he knows that if she looks into this too hard, she's going to find something that's going to lead to some massive repercussions for him.
Yeah.
So over on Noble Street, and when we were watching this on Monday, both of us swore that it said Normal Street, didn't we?
He said, "Oh, things like this doesn't usually happen. It's Normal Street."
That's kind of a funny way of describing what the street is. It's just a normal street.
Imagine
normal street.
if Coronation Street was just called Normal Street.
Yeah. Wouldn't that
was
be
never
ironic?
in the cards.
But no, it was Noble Street. Joel's Road. The car guy there is with Swain, telling her about what happened to the car on the 27th of September. Ooh, what a coincidence. He remembers there being two guys there rowing nearby his car. So
two guys?
Yeah.
That must have been Ed and Ronnie.
Yes, yeah, I guess. Or was it Joel and Kit? Don't know. He was in his flat.
She never asked him for any.
I can't remember.
I think deliberately she didn't ask him for any details because, it could have been Ronnie and Joel.
Well, maybe.
If she had asked him for even the most minor of details, like what colour were they? Was it a white guy and a black guy?
Yeah, he said that he just didn't remember too much, but I think you're right. Her line of inquiry was a little bit wishy-washy.
You would remember basically like how old they were, what colour they were, what they might have been like. Were they dressed warmly, or was one of them wearing a hat?
Well, yeah, if it was one of them wearing a hat, that's Ed. She says, "Look."
Sometimes Ronnie has a little flat cap.
Does he?
But
I can't remember.
Ed's
was he
never without his
bursting out of
beanie.
his t-shirt?
Yeah.
So he's there saying, "Well, finally, I've been given the go-ahead to get my wing mirror fixed." But just imagine if your car wing mirror was smashed into it. It took a whole 5 weeks, is it, to be told you? And so he's just had it on the side of the road there for all that time. That's nuts. But anyway, she says,
Don't do
cancel
that.
it. We might be able to find out who did this to you by testing the red paint. Really, she doesn't care, give two hoots about his wing mirror. She's suspecting this is something to do with the Joel case, which obviously she's not really been allowed to do anything with. But she's a renegade, is Swain.
Mm-hmm.
So Dee Dee, speaking of Swain, notices that she is acting quite odd in the cafe later, and Swain's like, "Look, this is what I've just found out about the car. I think it was just down the road from where Joel lived. Maybe this red car can help us. We could be onto something here." So Dee Dee is trying to make out that it was probably nothing. So she kind of is acting a bit suspicious, doesn't she?
Yeah, she really is.
But I think that's because she knows that she was there. Not necessarily that she was...
drove Ronnie's car into the side of this car.
It could be. Swain, after Dee Dee leaves, Swain phones Craig and says, "Right, start checking the cameras around Noble Street." And this is what we find out the results to at the end of today's episode, wasn't it? When
Kit gets
Kit's
given,
card is a...
and Swain hasn't got access to this.
Yeah. So back in Carla's flat, she's talking to Ryan about Swain, and Ryan says, "Well, this Kit clearly doesn't think much of her. He'd take her job in a heartbeat." At the station, Kit's heard about Swain looking into these cameras on Noble Street, and he's like...
she's still pretending it's part of her investigation into the catalytic converters.
Yeah, exactly. And the broken ring mirror.
She's supposed to be investigating that. She's not supposed to be investigating the murder. She just found out
she's
there's
off
a
the
link
case.
because it's the same night.
We've not seen any of Bostello this week, have we? He'd come and sort it out. She doesn't let on that it's to do with the murder, even though he obviously... He must suspect.
Well, if it's his car, and he knows he was driving a red car...
Yeah.
He definitely knew that... Oh, anyway.
Quite. So, Swain goes to the garage later. The only garage in Weatherfield, clearly. Abby, and says, let me look through the books and see if last month we sorted out a car with a bit of a red scratch on it. A red car with scratches on it. Oh, what are the chances of this? Ronnie's name is in there. One thing we haven't done, we had a little look when the episode was on, but I don't think there are any other names on that book that might have given any other clues away. We're obviously drawn towards Ronnie's car was on there, but there's no date. Can I have you remember about it?
Don't care.
So Ronnie is accosted by Swain in the pub later, who says, "Tell me about your damaged car." This is when he's saying, "Oh yeah, well, I had a smash with somebody. We exchanged insurance details. It's all fine. Nothing to worry about." So Dee Dee then stands up to Swain, clearly not happy with her accusatory tone towards her dear uncle. Swain bogs off and says, "Look, I'm not getting in your family dramas. Bring me the details tomorrow, and then we're all sorted." So Swain and Carla are at the bistro later, sharing a drink, and I'm sure the Swala fans out there were going, "Oh, could this be the moment?" And it nearly is, because she starts opening up about how
Swain does.
Yeah, about how things between her and Betsy are difficult. It's kind of, we've heard this all before, really, haven't we? Carla says, "Look, just cut yourself some slack. You're doing a great job. You're a lovely mum. Betsy struck gold with you." And then she puts her hand on Lisa's back. Lisa recoils and make a hasty exit out of the bistro. That was really cleverly done, I thought, because to any of us watching, this is Lisa going, "No, I can't,
No, this is Lisa going, "Don't touch my bruise."
Yeah, no, exactly. We know that now.
Yeah.
But at the time, we were like, "Oh no, she's rebuffing Carla's advances. Maybe is she not ready or what have you?" And that's what Carla thinks it is, because Carla's she's kind of all over the place emotionally this week, because she doesn't. I think she probably still doesn't quite understand these feelings that she's having for Lisa, because it's something different than she's ever had before. And now she's being rebuffed by somebody who seemed to be showing her interest before. But yeah, what it actually is, we get to see new set alert. Swain's bathroom. She's there in this slinky black top. They knew what they were doing. And we see her looking in the mirror. She's got bruises on her back. She lifts up her top a little bit, and she's got an injury on her stomach. She's got some really nasty bruising there. And this ends the episode, the flashback, where she's running out of the precinct, chasing after somebody, yelling at them to stop. And we hear a car drive off in front of her.
Now, the thing that gets confusing, if you know the layout of Coronation Street and because you've been on a tour, it's really tempting to think, yeah, Lisa Swain was in the same road that Joel lives because Noble Street is up the road from the precinct.
Yeah,
because
but
it
no,
literally
that's just
is
where it's filmed.
And so
With a police station in between.
Forgetting to myself that there's we don't have any information about how close Joel lives to the precinct, apart from the fact that it was fairly easy for him to bob back and forwards to Lauren's flat. So presumably it's not that far away. But yeah, the way it kind of you could almost insinuate, if you know the layout, that the red car might have been the one that tried to run her over, having ran away from bashing Joel with a crowbar.
Well, I kind of, in my head, I see Lisa chasing the car down the road, and then the car swerves and scrapes across Mr. What's-his-face's car on the way. But no, it's not that.
It's not supposed to be anywhere.
That's just where it was filmed.
Yeah, it was literally just filmed up the road. Up this road.
So, do you think that we've been wanting to see who's part of the Swains' residence ever since it was announced that she was
lady of the house speaking?
Yeah. Are we going to see any more than the bathroom,
well,
or is this where it's limited to for now?
And I was thinking, Coronation Street infamously has terrible money problems because of ITV. And we know that they also love to toot their horn about reusing things and reducing waste, and
very green.
Sets are quite expensive and they only have a limited amount of space too. So why did they make a bathroom set and nothing else? That's really interesting, because sometimes they can be very canny and they seem to sort of use things and be really forward thinking about it, and other times they just have a set for one or two scenes, and it doesn't seem to make any real sense as to what the differentiation is.
Well,
if we're having a bathroom, is that all we're going to ever get?
If Lisa's just about to get in a romantic entanglement with Carla, which we know it's going to happen, maybe it would have been more sense for her to have just a bedroom set with a massive mirror in. Ladies have mirrors in their bedrooms, don't they? And because we saw Betsy accidentally walking in on her mum in the bathroom the next day, but that could have certainly happened in the bedroom.
Kids go into their parents' bedrooms.
Yeah, I can't see there being a whole lot of use out of this bathroom set, but maybe it's just like Billy and Paul's. Maybe bathroom sets are just cheap and you can get away with using them for a few episodes.
That bathroom was used for what? 2 scenes?
What, the Billy and Paul one?
Yeah.
Yeah. And also you got who was it? Jacob, when he flushed his drugs down the bathroom at what is now, who's living there at the moment? Daniel and Bethany's flat. Do you remember when Jacob had the drugs a couple of years ago and he had to that bathroom. So yeah, that's really 3 bathroom weird. Sets that have been put together just for temporary.
I bet you if you looked at all those sets, the toilet and the sink would be exactly the same one.
Okay, so on to Wednesday's episode now, and this is where Betsy walks in on her mum, who's still examining her bruises, and Lisa puts it down to body combat in the gym. Betsy is clearly not convinced by this rather naff excuse. Later on, Betsy's still in the bathroom because that's the only set the Swains have, of course, and she's sneaking around and she finds this cocodamol and ibuprofen gel, which was prescribed to Lisa on the 28th of September. So she's going, what's going on here then? Kit, meanwhile, is doing a bit of reading up on the Joel case in the back of the Rovers. Yeah, this seems to be where he does his homework, isn't it? I wonder whether his notes have progressed further than the last time we saw them.
So Kit's got his...
He's got his case file, hasn't he? Do we have paper notes? Do police officers just generally have paper files of notes these days? I would have thought it would all be done on the police.
I can just imagine. They probably have to do it on computers.
And I would also be surprised, and maybe I'm completely wrong about this, that they'd even be allowed to take those notes away from the station. Is that a bit of a GDPR issue? Maybe. I would have thought that it's like you do it at the station, you leave it at the station, because otherwise what might happen is, what actually did happen to Kit, is that he leaves his notes on the bar.
But I think he did that on purpose.
Well, do you think? I was wondering, is there any way that he could have done that on purpose? But if he's there, if he's there basically investigating himself, which is what we're suspecting here, is the benefit that somebody looks at the notes and see, well, what do you think?
Well, I don't know. I thought he might have been trying to to see who was interested in the notes.
For maybe.
But I think it would be funny.
It's a very risky thing to do.
I think it'd be funny if he was interviewing his suspect for the murder case and he brings his notes out and he says, right, so the information I have here, the evidence we have against you is that you enjoy watching The Holiday. You like...
Big fan of The Real Housewives of Cheshire.
You love watching The Real Housewives of Cheshire. Sorry, this is a different set of notes. I've been taking out somebody else.
So Daisy's having a dig around for details about this case, and they go in a bit of a... she's like, hypothetically, were there to be a murder case, what could you tell me about it? And silly fool. Although maybe because he tells her that there was bruising on Joel's hands, didn't he? As if he'd been in a fight before.
And that was new information.
That was new information to us, yeah. And then he disappears away from the bar,
this is when
he leaves the notes on the bar there, didn't he?
And Ryan makes himself a suspect because he tells Kit that he used to live with Lauren and she was blackmailing.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And then it also...
He was only a jokey suspect, wasn't he?
Well...
Yeah. But Kit's just kind of pulling his plonker there a little bit when he says, oh, maybe you've got something to worry about.
We'd be a bit dumb not to ask everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what's making... Is another thing that's kind of boggling my mind a little bit is having read Street of Lies, which is the Choose Your Own Adventure book by
Abigail Kemp.
And that's about a murder mystery. It's a mystery.
Poison pen.
All right, poison pen, but I guess it can get serious depending on which way you go. So I'm kind of, as we're going through this, I'm thinking there could be many alternative versions of this. If Kit follows this clue, is it going to be revealed it's Dee Dee? But if he had followed that clue, it would have turned out to be Ronnie.
Anyway, Betsy later finds Mason in Victoria Gardens, and she says she's worried about her mum. Tells him about the bruises that she saw. She also sees that Mason is sporting a new... I think this is a new bruise on his cheek. It wasn't the same one from before, was it? Well, that wouldn't still be there.
I don't know.
From a few weeks ago. So he's clearly getting roughed up by Logan behind the scenes, and that's gonna be blown out of the water at some point. But she says, look, do you know when Joel was killed? They asked you in for questioning about it, and he said 27th of September, so that ties then into the prescription being made on the 28th of September, and it gets those cogs in her brain whirring a little bit more. In the flat later, Carla is getting
tetchy.
She's getting a bit tetchy, isn't she? Yeah, she's in a tiz about Lisa. Ryan can tell, and she's like, no, I'm not, I'm fine, don't worry about it. And he says, look, you just need to make a move on her. Really?
Yeah.
So Kit later returns to the pub. Ryan gives him the folder saying, I promise I didn't read it.
I would have.
Yeah, I know, totally would have, wouldn't you?
Of course, is it illegal?
If the notes had been left there, and who would know?
I would definitely say I hadn't read it.
Yeah. They start chatting about Daisy, and Kit by this point is starting his operation...
Get Daisy.
Yeah, woo Daisy, bed. Exactly. And he kind of trying to find out whether Ryan wants to get back with her or not. And then was it? I can't remember whether it was Wednesday or Friday. I guess we'll find out in a minute when he starts asking about the things that she's into. Betsy sees Craig in the pub later and says, "Was my mum working on the 27th of September?" And he says, "Well, actually, she clocked off early that night." Then she came back in later, banging on about Joel and wondering where he was. So what was Lisa doing here?
Well, this is the day that Joel was supposed to appear in court. So Lisa maybe knocked off early so she could attend the court case. And then when he wasn't there, stormed back to the station to go, we've got to find him.
But Craig was saying it was in the evening that she disappeared off and then came back, and the court case was during the day, so I don't know whether it was that. Anyway, so that's maybe some clues that we need to look out for later. Daisy chimes in with the goss that she's learned about the bruised knuckles that Joel says. Betsy starts getting really anxious at this point because the clues are building up that maybe it was her mum that... did Joel in. So she sees her mum going out into the factory later, follows her in front of the whole factory. "Mum, did you kill Joel?" See, this is where we needed Beth there, isn't it? Just peering her head round the door. Yeah, we didn't get any kind of factory girl.
No reaction. No, not even Dirk looking through the
Not even Dirk. So Betsy's all a flutter about whether her mum's actually a murderer here. And like you said earlier in the episode, I think that it could have been a little bit more
This to me it was a bit hysterical because I know she's a kid, right, and I know that kids make stupid mistakes, but I don't think that if you really thought, and you're Betsy, because Betsy's switched on, she was introduced to us as a very manipulative and clever person who knew how to get around people, but somehow she's forgotten all of that, because if you were to accuse your mum of killing somebody, you wouldn't do it in public in front of everybody, would you?
No.
There was no need for that to have happened.
No.
But this is why...
I suppose she was very emotional.
But
She
this is
really
why it
thought
makes me think
but...
that it doesn't feel like she's taking it seriously. She...
I don't know.
It just
Swain
sounded
gets
silly.
kind of peed off about this because she's realised that people have been blabbing about the case when they shouldn't have been. So she storms into the pub, has a moan to Craig, about saying where she was the night that Joel died. That's confidential information, actually. I think more that it's going to be revealed that it's more that she was doing something that we don't know about yet.
To know.
Yeah, and also she kind of wraps the knuckles of Daisy because she knows that she's been trying to dig for information from Kit as well. She's just not a happy bunny as Swain, and she swooshes off again out of the pub.
Well, she threatens everybody, which, again, see, what I was saying earlier about this not feeling like it was well written for Swain, is that I also think to be a copper you've got to be a bit canny, and to get to the level that she has, you don't make empty threats to people like she just did, because you look weak when you can't back them up. And Daisy's not stupid. She knows that Swain can't do anything to her for talking.
No,
it's not
Daisy, exactly.
So when Swain came and confronted her and said, "You keep your mouth shut, otherwise I'm going to get you in trouble," just makes you look like a primary school
I'd love that
kid.
to be like an Ina Sharple's character here, who would have totally done the same thing and gossiped about a police case you would have heard about. And if Swain had gone up to Ina and said, "Don't you tell me how to talk about my
she
case,"
She would have said, "Now listen here, Mr. Swain, you think no better than you ought to be. I saw you born. I saw you when you were a babby and I changed your nappies. You can't tell me
if I find
what
out
to do.
information about the local going on around here, then it's not, and then I'll talk about it, and
Somebody needs to know what's going on around these parts and tell everybody and gather the information, because you sure aren't doing it, miss."
Exactly. Maybe just Evelyn in there would have done that job now. Anyway, we get a little bit later of Ryan and Kit talking about Daisy, because Kit's kind of interested in romancing her or
Fishing.
something.
Oh, dark chocolate.
Yeah, dark
what
chocolate.
Kind of stuff she like? What she
gift giving is her
like,
love language, which is what you always tell me as well.
But I also say, don't buy me things because you don't really know what to buy me.
Yeah.
And I have to
Gemma
pay.
likes gifts, but
we also share our finances, and I'd rather not pay for half a gift I don't want.
Anyway, clearly he's just trying to get out from this information from Ryan so that he can use it to woo her later. So Carla turns up at the station later. She says, "Look, Swain, obviously, Lisa, you didn't kill Joel, but you were lying about where you were that night." And I can't remember whether we go any further with this. Carla knows that
Yes,
Lisa...
she does.
What do we find out?
She just says, "I went looking for Joel and I didn't see him, but I saw somebody snatching a woman's bag, and then he drove off and hit me with his car when he was trying to escape. And I didn't want to tell anybody because they'd make me have time off, and I don't want to take time off when I'm trying to get to the bottom of what happened to Joel."
Yeah, and she didn't want to tell Betsy because Becky ended up being killed in the line of duty in a very similar circumstance. Exactly, she was hit by a getaway car, and so if I told her about that, then Betsy would get worried about me, etc., etc., which I guess makes sense. It's kind of convenient, I suppose, that she wants to protect Betsy.
But this is like the third story now she's told about the same thing, and every time she's been quite convincing. Like the first time she said she hurt it in a gym class, the second time she said she fell off a chair,
yes,
and now she's saying this story, and every time the same motivation remains, and that is that she didn't want to be told to stay off the case. But is that true?
I don't know.
Is it that she actually got wounded in a very, in a way that she shouldn't have even been involved? Because obviously,
I think it'd be cool if it did turn out that it was something different.
Yeah, because if you're suspecting her of this crime, the real reason why she hasn't reported it is because she got it in the taking part in a murder.
Yeah, exactly. I still like the theory that we came up with a few weeks ago that maybe two characters were involved in it.
It definitely wasn't her and Kit.
It was not. Yeah, they're not seeing eye to eye here.
And it definitely wasn't her and Carla, because Carla would have known.
Yeah,
how
this
she
was
got
all
the
before
bruise.
this was all before the kiss as well. There's no way that they're conspiring here. Also not getting on too well at the moment are Betsy and Mason, because she's kind of digging for details about his bruises still, and also she's seen him raiding for pizza in the bins, and he's like, leave me alone, I don't want to talk about it, me and you, we should keep our distance. So he doesn't want to let her in. It feels like he's maybe got something to hide, but I don't think it's about the case. I just think it's about him and his dodgy brother, to be honest. I mean, if Logan could turn out to be... Yeah, I know he's got a yellow car, hasn't he? But he could turn out to be involved.
If
That would be a bit
Logan's
of a
involved,
twist.
it would be a letdown.
It'd still be a letdown twist, you're right, because, again, a character coming in just at the last minute is a bit of a... Deus Ex Machina to solve the problem, I don't know. So, pub later, Daisy admits to Kit that she might have dropped him in it with Swain, and Swain got really worked up about it too. How strange, what's going on there? Kit looks quite intrigued by this information and heads off. I don't know where he goes at that point, I can't remember, because the next time I think we see Kit is when he's telling Daisy that he's really into the Real Housewives of Cheshire, and all reality TV, in fact. I'm surprised they didn't use this as an opportunity to plug Big Brother, because surely they would have known when this was on that Big Brother would be showing just after Coronation Street, I think. Oh no, it's on ITV2 actually, isn't it? But still, bit of cross-channel promotion there. Over in Carla's flat, she's having a drink with Ryan. She says, look, I've still not been able to have a proper chat with Lisa. She's caught up with some stuff from Betsy. Ryan brings up the night that Joel died, and he says, well, you've not been completely honest about that night either, have you? You said you were going to the factory to turn off a light, but you were ages. What was going on? Carla just says, I had a bit of paperwork to do while I was there, but what we actually see is the letdown flashback where she walks out the factory, sees something, and then it's the end of the episode. I think that they could have turned that episode around more if we'd have had a bit more of a clue.
Could have been two dogs shagging.
Could have been complete. I think this is like kind of the problem that I had with Swain's flashback on Monday, is that immediately it was resolved. If what she's saying is the truth, if we'd have been left to ponder a little bit longer about who was it that Swain was chasing after, they could have kept the mystery going for a bit longer, maybe. I don't know, it felt like it was one of these cliffhangers that's very quickly resolved afterwards, and I'm still in no way suspicious about Swain's involvement in Joel's murder.
No, I don't think she did anything to Joel, but I'm... If it turns out that this story is also wrong, I would be quite happy.
But again, this is another case of she's on the picture of the suspects, but nobody on the show suspects her at the moment.
No.
So it's a little odd. Anyway, Friday, let's blast through this. A lot of what's happened on Friday we've kind of talked about already, but there's more of Swain and Betsy trying to find out more about the bruises, Swain coming up with some cock and bull story about falling off a chair. We also get another scene of Ryan and Carla talking about the fact that she's been maybe a bit dishonest with the police. I did appreciate how Bobby got quite affronted by this news, considering when he lied to the police earlier this year, she tore him a new one, and here she is doing it herself again. I mean, everyone's just lying to the police at the moment. Does Bobby know about... it has come out about her car dooring that boy, hasn't it? Because that was another thing where Carla... I mean, maybe this is why Carla's trying to get into Swain's pants, because she just thinks it's a nice, easy... Yeah, exactly. An easy way to commit a few crimes and just having it ironed over. I don't know. We've got a bit more of Kit digging into what Daisy doesn't like, likes the holiday, dislikes dunking biscuits. They're planning to have a goodbye Kit party later because he's moving into his new place on Monday, which could be interesting because we end today's episode finding out that he, as if we didn't know already, is a bit of a dodgy geezer, so he's going to have his own dodgy geezer pad on Monday for all of his nefarious deeds.
Maybe he's moving into Joel's house.
That'd be quite handy, wouldn't it? A conveniently open flat there. At the station, Swain's talking to Kit about Joel again. Weird that we haven't found his bag. You mentioned that earlier, didn't we? And I don't think we go any further with that this episode, so keep your eye out for a bag.
Well, they wonder if somebody's got his bag, that he could... They could be the person who killed him.
Yeah. So we're going to find Kit with the bag, aren't we, I think. Betsy's meanwhile being miserable at work. Carla tries to get her to
and this
open
was another
up.
weird thing. Why was Betsy sitting in Carla's office on her phone?
Oh yeah,
not doing any work.
Yeah, I know. This is just open office. They're
there's
very,
a weird relationship. Carla's
a nice family relationship at the underworld.
Carla's treating Betsy really differently to everybody else, and if I was one of the workers at the factory, I'd be kicking off.
I think so. And it's just because Carla's friendly with her mum.
But that doesn't make sense because Carla's got family members she didn't treat as nicely as this.
Yeah, and Betsy's just the new girl, isn't she? You're right. What else have we got?
Well, she's asking. Carla's asking Betsy why she's upset, and she says, "I think my mum killed Joel." And Carla says, "I know that she didn't." And then we don't know this till later, but she tells her why she knows this.
Yeah, exactly. You got a little bit more of Craig being told by Kit not to share any CCTV information about Noble Street with Lisa. Obviously, we later find out why that is. And we also have Kit using his knowledge about Daisy's film preferences to wangle an evening of romance with her. Although they make a big thing of this party, but we didn't get to see any of it, did we, in the end? Swain marches into the pub later once again to have a go at Daisy. Somebody's made a complaint against her, and now she's on internal investigation. Oh, it must be you, Daisy. And Daisy's like, it's nothing to do with me. Later turns out that it's Betsy, of course. Kit and Daisy are having a grumble about the whole situation later, and he says, well, nobody seems to trust me. They just don't know me. Daisy's saying, well, should we trust you? Yes, of course, says Kit. And she's like, do you really like the holiday? Do you really like the Real Housewives of Cheshire? And he admits not. Maybe they didn't have the party then, I can't remember it now, but she's still definitely a little bit flirty with him. Swain is telling Carla about this harassment complaint that she's received. It was an anonymously one done by text. And she's had her phone taken away to be checked on. Again, did anything come from this? Or is everything just
sounds like she went
back to normal by the end of the episodes? Yeah. Carla tells her that she's told Betsy about this hit and run last night. Swain's mad at Carla. Betsy's mad at her mum for lying. Everyone's just mad at each other. I think this is another reason I didn't particularly enjoy Friday's episode too much. There's just a bit too much butting heads. Well, this is when
Betsy admits that she made this harassment complaint to try to get her to stop working because she's scared every time she leaves that she's going to die.
Yeah, which does make sense, but it's just not anything that we've had any reason to believe that Betsy's worried about up until this point, have we?
I kind of believe it, but I also think that...
I think you would.
She's a bit too old to think that this ploy would have worked without ruining her and her mum's life, because they've only got one person working for a proper wage, and so if her mum gets fired from the job because she's been an idiot, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
And she's old enough to know the consequences of getting somebody fired. So anyway, once Swain realises that she's done this just to go on an apology tour.
Yeah, and I bet she does not enjoy grovelling to Kit, who in this case was completely innocent here. She also starts opening up to him about this red car and saying that, I think whoever owned the red car might know something about what happened with Joel. So Kit's probably sweating buckets here. There's a few more scenes with him and Daisy and him and Ryan. He's kind of saying to Ryan, look, I'm not looking to marry Daisy, I'm just after a bit of fun with her. You left the game, don't cry about it.
Yeah, because Ryan hears from Jenny that he's watching the holiday. So he confronts Kit and says, you used me. And he's like, look, you let it go. It's just part of the fun.
So Swain comes to the factory later saying to Carla, I've sorted out the whole stuff about the complaint. That was nice and easy. I'm having some time off so that I can concentrate on Betsy.
What she's saying really is that for the next few weeks, I'm not going to have my hair in a ponytail.
Yeah, she's going to have hair down, do you reckon, for the next few weeks? And we also have then the big reveal at the end of the episode. Craig gives the CCTV footage finally to Kit, or the footage, the files that have got his car as one of the ones involved in it, and he deletes himself off of it. Did Craig type this? Would he have known? Would he have noticed that Christopher Green's name was in there?
No, because Kit said, have you looked at this? And has Swain looked at this? And he said
did he say no to both, did he? I couldn't remember that. So, yeah.
And you also missed out the line when Swain apologises to Carla for going off on her, and says, "From now on, feel free to interfere in my life whenever you want."
Oh yes, this is a nice open invitation for that. So I think I was just wondering, I think she's not going to be able to help herself. I think this is just giving herself carte blanche to investigate the murder 24 hours a day without being tied down with other pesky police cases that she might be involved in.
Yeah, no more catalytic converters for me.
Yeah, exactly. She's just going to be concentrating solely on this Joel case. So anyway, there we go. That was this story. I think we've kind of talked about our thoughts about it enough. It was fine.
It also explains a lot about the state of this country, that it seems that police only have to investigate crimes like your car was broken into if they're being punished for something, and they spend the whole time complaining about it and not really doing it.
Do you think that Swain is going to be, should she be the one who unmasks Kit at the end, or should it be DG? Who should have the honour of taking him down? He's clearly dodgy. Whether he's a murderer or not is still, I'm not going to say 50-50, but it's
Kit.
It's quite likely. Should it be Swain? Or should it be
Swain,
Dee Dee?
I think, because Kit likes rubbing it in her face too much, and he's always moaning, and it does feel quite one-sided, really. Because I don't think that Swain would have a problem with him if he wasn't meddling all the time.
Yeah. It has been odd how Dee Dee hasn't, has taken a bit of time off, just being in an episode.
Obviously needs a break.
Obviously does. So anyway, we will see where this takes us. It's got its pros and its cons. However it happens, I'm sure that we will be on the edge of our seats when this reveal comes out. I think there's just been a few too many bumps in the road. Is there going to be any purpose in Kit and Daisy getting together?
Well, yeah, so that when he's revealed to be an evil man, Daniel can rescue her and Bethany will be sad.
Oh yeah, maybe it is. I don't know. Or is this going to spur Ryan on to try and take Daisy back because he realises what he's missing?
Is Ryan going to get involved in taking Kit down?
Yeah, maybe. Ryan was being completely, Daisy, she's a nightmare, better off without her. That kind of didn't strike me as being completely true.
Well, he was saying he was trying to cover his ego to Kit.
Yeah, I guess so. Right, and we've still got some funny linked with Kit. I'm still not completely sure about why Kit needs to be linked to the Winter family at all at the moment.
No.
Because he has got nothing to do with them, and they've got nothing to do with this. Bizarre. I suppose it would just be more drama for Bernie if and when he's revealed to be the dodgy guy. But anyway, speaking of the Winters, I think that we should probably get on to them.
Yes. How could I not remember what happened this week?
It's just the whole idea of Paul's ashes going into space.
Props to Jane Hazelgrave for saying Paul's space launch at some point this week with a completely straight face in the middle of a very harrowing emotional scene.
Yeah, Jimmy didn't have to stay too straight faced
for
all of his scenes this week.
This week, was it peak Dev? Have we reached peak Dev yet?
Every time I think he's Dev to his deviest Dev, he just devs further the next time he gets the opportunity.
Never outknowingly Dev.
What was the director doing on Wednesday? They're just I'm just going to step back and let him do his thing. Because the thing is, some people... I love it. I think it's brilliant. But I know that there's some people watching and go, what the hell am I watching?
Oh, I love him. You find him so entrancing.
He is magnificent.
He's hypnotic.
Yes.
And what was he doing with that accent?
I don't know what he was going for quite. I want to watch
the whole show just of
Dev.
I
want to watch a one-man Dev show. Let's get Jimmy Harkish in a one-man stage show. I'd see that for sure. Right. So
anyway,
what's going on?
He was just part of that story.
He was, yes, this very serious story about poverty and space ashes. Affairs of the heart.
So. We've already had the debacle at the kebab shop last week, didn't we?
Yeah.
Where it all went wrong, and
yes, the quitters and pitters. Cockroaches are rife in Prima Donna,
and I think that the fallout's still ongoing, isn't it? Because Chesney's still trying to clean everything up, running around, and Gemma's still not working. Fully, is she? And they've
she's
come
just been back from their little jaunt, haven't they?
Holiday from Kit's friend's cottage.
Yes.
Which this is why if you're feeling the pinch, just remember you might have a friend or a relative who knows someone who has a cottage.
Just ask
exactly.
about.
And again, if it's still not working, just stop having avocado toast for breakfast. So, Bernie goes to see Billy, and she can see that he's got this.
No, she says, "Oh, Billy, I'm having doubts about the space launch," and Billy's like, "Thank goodness you said it. What a tacky load of nonsense!"
Yeah, that's right.
And she's like, "No, I just don't. I don't like the idea of him going in bits because remember, Billy's still got a bit of Paul in a box, so there's only 3/4 blasting into the stratosphere."
No, she wants to take all of him with her, and Billy won't give her his share. And I love this too. He's like, sending him to space is tacky. I'm going to make him into a ring.
Oh yeah.
Listen, I have a problem with either of them, but I don't think that either one of them is any different to the other.
I think making somebody
unusual.
into a ring is a little bit more usual than blasting them into space.
What would you like to be done to you?
What?
If I gave you 2 choices and said, when you die, I'm going to mash you up and I'm going to either blast you into space or I'm going to...
Well, can you just make me into a pencil or something?
And then what? Write love poems?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know what else you can do with ashes, but I don't hate the idea of being made into jewellery.
Oh, that's good.
But you don't wear jewellery, so
No,
I don't know.
don't.
You'd make me into a diamond ring and then pawn me off, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You get more for that than you can for a box of ashes.
I think what's happened is Bernie's just seen what happens to your ashes on Coronation Street if you're left around unattended for any length of time. She just wanted to get blown.
She doesn't want
into
him to have a
dust
bit
and
become a comedy
scene,
a comedic
get run
Todd
over
moment
by a bus.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so Billy tells us
You just
town
imagine
stand.
the rocket going up with Paul's ashes, and then they're hit by a passing asteroid. Or saying, "Oh, what a comedic moment that
got him.
was." Yeah.
What does it mean to go to space as ashes, though?
I don't know.
Does it kind of and you must be going out with loads of other people.
Yeah.
Well, it's a bloody racket, isn't it?
Don't they say that they go up there and then he kind of rains down? I'm not really sure.
Well, that's what Bernie said. Bernie said he was going to rain down, but you don't need to go to space to be rain.
Is he just? Maybe he's just orbiting.
Orbiting. It's going to be space trash.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So
Ash trash.
Ash trash. Bernie, look. If that's what you want to do, it's fine. The only problem I have with it is that it's incredibly expensive, and this is a family that they keep trying to tell us is living in abject poverty.
I know, I don't want to just kind of be down on something because it's a bit out of the ordinary, because that's probably quite rude, but it's not for me.
No, I think
pencil.
For Bernie, it sounds like a perfect idea, but I think that's what Bernie wants for herself. I don't think Paul...
But I just don't get why Bernie doesn't want to turn him into a natural crystal, because crystals are her thing.
Probably
she's
because
laughing at having Billy turning him into a ring, but
what do you
not a
think?
million miles away.
What do you think they're going to do? Do you think are we going to see the space launch?
Well, there's the
video
party supposedly next week, isn't
on
there?
a Wednesday.
Yeah, I wonder what the video will look like. I bet they haven't made one. I bet they'll just have a load of people facing the telly
and crying.
But
or is it going to be a comedic, we've been rooked? They just tied him to a firework?
I wonder whether... I mean, I know they've got confirmation that he's gone up now. Sorry, we're skipping ahead already, aren't we? But maybe it'll turn out that he hasn't, and then she'll have the ashes sent back to her, and then she'll realise, actually, maybe I do just want to make him into a little pendant or something.
Maybe I want to give him just to Billy.
I don't know whether we go that far, but I'm still not really enjoying the cattiness between the two of them.
No, I know.
Considering that the MND storyline was, my favourite of the year and last year.
It's really
just
funny.
Ended on a bit of it's just a bit uncomfortable to watch.
It's ironic, isn't it? That all he wanted was for his family to unite, and they're just arguing over what he wanted after he died.
I know, he'd hate to see what was going on at the moment.
I think that's the point of the story.
Yeah,
but it doesn't feel like the point of the story, because it still doesn't feel like there's an end. I thought they got over this. Every time I think they got over their differences about Paul being dead and they're not being sure what to do about it, they've come up with a new cockamamie idea about how else to annoy each other.
Yeah, I hope they kind of put this to bed on Wednesday or whenever it's supposed to be that the party is happening. But I've just got a horrible suspicion that Billy's gonna not enjoy it.
Well, and then cause a scene. He shouldn't go to this. Anyway, so Bernie's like fretting because she thinks she's lost his ashes half an hour before the courier is supposed to arrive, but Dev has actually already sent him off and thought he was doing a good deed, and Bernie goes off on one and says,
well, he says, hey, I thought I would save you a job, man.
She's like, a job? My son's never a job.
How bad was this, what Dev did? Because it obviously led to the breakup of this relationship.
No, I think it was just her. She's not, like she said, she's not in the right space for this at the moment.
If the courier turns up, what's he supposed to do? Just say, oh, hang on, come in for a cup of tea for a minute while I go and get the mum so she can give her a kiss on the box. Wrong. No, I don't think he did either.
I think she knows that, though. So, Chesney's deep-cleaned the kebab shop again for a second time, and he's trying to get Dev to pay out for him to decorate it. And Dev's like, no, Tall Matt's going to do it, and you're not going to get any wages because the shop's closed. So, that's an awful turn of events.
Dev, as family, I think, should be bending over backwards to try and get some kind of work for Chesney to do. And I know that Chesney is partly responsible for the infestation.
The thing is, Dev's got loads of other shops and things.
No, he doesn't. They all got blown up 20 years ago.
But he's got this corner shop, and doesn't he have the chip shop?
I can't remember whether he still owns the chip shop. I'm not sure.
Why can't he get him work somewhere else?
Yeah,
but
I know,
equally,
it's bad.
There are some businesses where you don't pay somebody when they're not working, and there are businesses where you do, and it sucks because it's always the middle class people who, we don't have any work for you to do, but you're a salaried employee, so you're just gonna have to wait until there's some a project to come along. Yeah. Whereas all the working class people who are on minimum wage, we don't have there's no hours available, so you're gonna have to just swivel. And but you're right. This was a bit of an uncharacteristically grim move from a Dev.
Who even is Tall Matt? I don't have. No, I've never heard of him
He's a man who doesn't need a ladder to do the tops of ceilings. So
we've had Tall Matt, we've had Hunky Matt. That was the guy that Alia was
Dr.
was
Matt.
fawning over. Dr. Matt. Yeah, they're never just Matt, are they?
No, they never are.
They got to be something Matt.
So Bernie apologises.
There's a certain number of doormats in the years over the years in Corrie, I'll tell you that.
Bernie returns to the pub and apologises to Dev for kicking off about everything, and then Gemma, just as they're kind of reconciling, Gemma marches in and complains that he's sacked Chesney, and Bernie's mad at him again. So that goes badly. So Dev comes back with his tail between his legs to try to placate her and says, I've not sacked him, I just can't pay him because there's no work. And Bernie's like, you can't do this to this guy. He's got no income, and he's got all these kids. And they get into an argument, and she tells him to bog off. I can understand. I understand completely both their situations. And Dev is obviously a shrewd businessman. He doesn't get where he is by doing favours for people. But you can't just go. You're not having.
Do you think that Bernie was more? The breakup was more because of the Chesney thing, or the Paul thing?
But the Paul thing was just a red herring.
I don't think that either.
I would be furious if I was Bernie and I was going out with somebody who's basically, really, Chesney's sort of his son-in-law in a very casual sense, and he's not helping out at all. And he was happy to drop 200 quid on a load of sandwiches. How much could he afford to spare Chesney for a week? Mind you, I wouldn't be putting my hands in my pocket for somebody who'd just been sending this kid on a ski trip.
That's true. I just think it was a bit uncharacteristic from Dev, but
so
it hated the plot.
Chesney needs to get one of these 0-hour takeaway delivery jobs, which I guess is like Deliveroo or Uber Eats or whatever.
Maybe it's Simon. Maybe it's his big business idea has come to fruition.
Fantastic. Gemma's not happy about this because he's going to be a dog's body. And then on Wednesday we have the Quad's birthday.
They're 5. Can you believe that?
5 years since a really stupid idea came to fruition in front of our eyes in Wales.
I can't believe it's been that long since she parted her legs up on that cable car in Wales. Blimey.
Billy brings round a present.
They're gonna start giving them personalities and little things soon, aren't they?
Yes.
Because at the moment they're still very much just herd them all into the scene, and they sit around the table playing nicely with each other. They had a couple of lines this week, didn't they? Not much, but they're starting to get there.
Not much, but it's honest work if you can get it.
Yeah.
So Billy brings around a present that Paul had brought.
Oh yeah, this is real. And then Bryn says, "Is Paul coming?"
No, he's dead.
I don't know. Did we find out what the present was? I can't remember.
It looked like it was a board game or something.
Oh, lovely.
Probably Mousetrap. Classic. In the shop, Dev does not know what to do.
I think they should get Connect 4 because it's very quad.
It's not quad friendly because you got 2 players. Just because it's Connect 4. Anyway, in the shop, Dev is fretting because he loves Bernie, misses her. But
I know what's great for 4 players: hungry hippos. Yeah,
Probably.
Cos would love that. They've even got that little mini circular table in the lounge. They could put it in the middle, have a corner each. Job's a good one. Just saying.
Maybe that's
6th birthday next year.
Okay. Shall I tell you what happened with Dev?
Yes.
He loves Bernie, he misses her, and he doesn't even know if she wants him at the party or not. I say, Dev, any chance to swerve a 5-year-old's birthday, but not just 5-year-old, 4 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
So Mary and Ardy sweep her off her feet, and Ash just like, no. The last thing you need is some kind of grand gesture or hassling her at the moment. And
Dev's like, grand gesture, you say? Yeah. I am Dev, the master of the grand gesture.
And
leave
you
it to me.
French accent, you say?
I
don't know why, but I will do one of those. It was all over the place, wasn't it?
I'd love to know what was the actual... What did the script say? What was the direction for Jimmy? Or did they just literally say, do what... We're not even giving you a script for this.
I think you have
Here's
to give
some
him
balloons.
something to rebel
do a
against.
skit.
So the party starts. Ches is immediately called away on another shift and has no choice but to work. And Gemma's like, oh, the quad, sorry about this. Anyway, Anahan's turn up and Dev is just in a suit and a bow tie. And he's like, this is going to be big, Ardy. You just watch this. So he's deving it up and he's like, hello, children. I can't even remember what accent he did now.
I'm not.
Like, are you ready for a balloon? Animals. What kind of animal do you want to see? What kind of animal you'd want to see? And they all said a different one. He's like, how about a dog? And then he was like, snakes. I was just entranced. I want to book him for my party.
Yes, that's a good point.
I bet he does brilliant kids' parties. He's better than bloody Jesse ever was, I'll tell you that for nothing. And he doesn't need a sidekick. So anyway, he produces a balloon and he's going, oh, what is this strange noise?
This balloon is rattling. Or just inside, maybe Nana Bunny, come and have a look.
Nana Bunny, oh, help me. And she pops the balloon and out comes an engagement ring. And he bends down on one knee to pick it up and say... I can't even remember if he did it in an accent, but I hope he did.
No, I don't think he did. I think he went serious. I think he went straight for the first time in his life.
Nana Bunny, me Grandpa Bunny. Anyway, he's serious. She freaks out. This is not what she wanted, and she storms out. And he has to go find her in the pub. And she says to him, "How dare you make the quads party all about you?"
Do you think that's the main thing that was her problem?
She just doesn't know what she's thinking.
Hijacking each other's parties for grand gestures of some sort.
Yeah, because it's a soap, but you're not supposed to.
I know you're not supposed to do that.
So she's like, I can't deal with this. And he apologises and says, I want you to know how much I love you. And she says, look, I'm not in the right headspace for this. Let's just call it quits. So when Chesney gets home, Gemma's left there. I think the quads have all died or something. And she tells him what's happened. And it sucks. And she just wishes Paul was there. And I think both Gemma and Bernie have a smell of Paul's top in this episode and have a cry. And it was really... I'm fascinated by Corrie's decision to have Gemma... it feels like she's the main focus of grief in this, and it's just interesting because she wasn't really the main one going into the MND story. It was really Billy, Bernie, and obviously Paul. But
I think it's just it makes sense as the twin thing.
Yes, I know, but my point is that we don't very often get to see like prolonged grief. This is like the most prolonged I think we've ever seen anyone mourn on Coronation Street, especially recently.
Usually they'll just get over it, or
they
they
just
have
go
like
away
a month
somewhere.
off screen.
Like, can you just go away because you're bumming us out?
They can have a grieving holiday.
Or you're crying and snotting everywhere. So anyway, they're both still not dealing very well.
Well, Bernie's ends the episode having a cry, doesn't she? But I think she's kind of a bit sad that she's losing Dev now as well.
Yeah, so that was Wednesday, and then on Friday, Bernie's like, yay, the launch has happened. And I was really surprised at this because I thought this would be a thing you went to.
Yeah, so did I.
I don't know what I kind of imagined it like a mini NASA launch, like with a small, like a little rocket, you know, maybe about the size of I don't know, the back of a chair or something, and it just goes up in space and you'll stand there and watch it and hope it doesn't blow up.
Yeah, but really, all that happens is somebody collects them, and then, I mean, I guess it makes sense.
Well, yeah.
They can't get everyone in the country.
Do it? Well, but it's international.
And how often do these things happen? I suppose if it's been collected, it's only going to be collected just before, isn't it? But is this a regular thing?
But they don't need to collect it just before. They can save them up, can't they?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to wait ages for your mum's gravestone.
Yeah, that's true.
If you were getting a launch into space, you could say things like, "Oh, we've got to wait for a launch window. Oh, you can't just fire ashes into space. You know, you have to make sure that there's an orbit." And you believe that, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So anyway,
I still reckon that it's all a big ruse and they've just CGI'd it.
Is he going to get like the CGI fireworks?
Oh my god! And then like a drone fireworks display with him like doing a wink and going mint. Anyway,
got to see the Bishop on Friday, didn't
Gemma reckons they should have a viewing party, and Bernie thinks that's a brilliant idea.
Yes.
Then the Bishop comes round and he's always so jolly and fun. Isn't he? He's like,
don't call me Bishop.
I'm only in this job because you can't be a Father Christmas all the way around. So, Billy's like, I want to get back to work. I want to carry on. And the Bishop's like, so soon? And Billy says, yes, this is what Paul had wanted, but maybe I should do light duties. And this really bugged me. And again, this is like the middle class / working class thing, isn't it? Because Billy's obviously, I would say upper middle class, even though he's pretending to be living around all these slumlords. But he doesn't need to work, and they're like, oh, don't come into work unless you're ready. Whereas meanwhile, everyone's begging Gemma and Chesney to get back to work, and they haven't got the luxury of just sitting around with their thumb up their bum or saying, oh, give me light duties. Well, that's, you know, they're like, oh yeah. Oh, I'm also quite surprised that being a vicar or an archdeacon or something is like not the sort of job you would rush back to, because surely you're being surrounded at all times by the comfort of God. Wouldn't you find comfort in helping people? Yeah. It doesn't feel like the sort of job that you're like, oh, you can't be an archdeacon. You might say something weird about God at the wrong time.
I mean, I suppose it might be quite a heavy job, you know. Well,
I imagine there are some really dark moments, but like you know, like duties.
Yeah, so, he's doing the christenings, not the funerals.
Light duties turns out to be a bunch of old boring paperwork. And
see, I thought the light duties, if you worked in the church, was just doing the candles. No,
it's blowing them all out. And some of the things he's pushing himself too hard, and then he's sitting there and he's like, oh, I can't be bothered with this. So he phones up the bishop and says, I want to quit being an archdeacon, which came out of nowhere. I thought that was really weird. Also, he really wasn't ready to go back to work because he just gave it half an hour and gave up.
I know, it didn't take him long, did it? Like half an hour paperwork. So he's
like me doing the invoices.
I think this is probably best for Coronation Street that he's not an archbishop, an archdeacon anymore.
I know, sorry, it was ludicrous.
I don't think Corrie ever really knew what an archdeacon. I haven't learnt what an archdeacon does.
I can just imagine them
in the
sitting
past
about
5 years he's been it, or however long it's been.
What does an archdeacon do? I don't know. Do you think they know? No, they don't know. We can say whatever we want.
We know what vicars do.
We don't really though, do we? We know what they do when they stand. It's like Coronation Street, what they think teachers do.
I know more about what a vicar does compared to an archdeacon, and it always felt like it was a promotion above his station, and just
it was a promotion that meant literally nothing because nothing changed.
It was a promotion that was probably big at the time for the story.
I don't even remember why he got promoted.
No, I don't remember.
It changed nothing. It meant nothing. He did nothing. And now he's been demoted, which means nothing and achieves nothing.
But interestingly, and I hadn't even considered this really, we learn later on that there aren't any parishes that are,
we'll get to that.
Needed. Oh, sorry for stealing your thunder.
No, I'm just reading the Bernie bit now.
Go on then.
So Dev's drowning his sorrows in the pub, and she says, why don't we have the viewing party? Well, they just ignore each other. But Bernie's there to talk to Jenny to see if she can host this party, and wants her to cater it next Wednesday. And when she hears on the phone from Jenny that the she hears it's gonna cost 200 quid, so she said forget it. But then she finds out that it turns out that it's gonna be paid for by a generous benefactor, and she thinks it's Dev, and she's pleased, she seems happy. But when she sees him in the cafe later, she gives him a bit of a cold shoulder. And Dev's like saying, can we not be civil? Can we not be friends? Maybe more than that. And she just brushes him off again.
Yeah, it's a really...
She's hot and cold on him.
Yeah.
So
they'll get back together, won't they? We all know it.
This is when Billy tells Summer that he's a parishless vicar. And so he's not going to even get paid. I thought for a minute they would be like, oh yeah, just one of the floating vicars that we have. But
no, he's you don't know what he's going to be doing now.
But he's got all these plans. He's got all these great plans about I'm going to set up a grief club, which sounds like the worst club ever.
I know.
Do you think they
sit
have
around in a
budgets?
circle and talk about how? I mean, it's a good Corrie is a perfect place for it. Like, just come in to sit in a circle and talk about how terrible our lives are.
A therapy group is a very good idea and helpful to people. I just don't think grief club sounds like exactly the sort of thing.
It's like the opposite of Glee Club, isn't it? Don't make a musical about this.
Yeah. So they have he also wants to set up an addiction group, another one of those, and then Jenny comes in and says, oh, are you looking forward to Paul's screening? They're going to blast him into space and everyone's going to eat sandwiches. And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? And then we see Summer talking to Todd going, I think he's going off the deep end. He is throwing himself into stuff. He hasn't got any income. I think he's making life decisions and jumping to conclusions too quickly. And I just want to get the bishop and give him a bit of a slap on the back of the hand here, because he was saying to Billy, like the same episode, oh, you shouldn't rush into coming back to work. And then Billy does rush back into coming back to work and doesn't last half an hour. And then he seems to accept his resignation. Wouldn't you say, no, Bill, look, wait till next week and come back to me. We'll keep you as you are at the moment.
Yeah.
Have a think about it. And then get back to me. He's probably secretly thrilled.
Maybe they've got somebody waiting in the wings who's like...
There's probably a load of
been
people
groomed to be the next archdeacon. Yeah.
Archdeacons. And they can probably move into the archdeaconry.
Yeah, the one that Billy shunned.
Yeah, the one that's full of homeless people, apparently.
And a heat pump.
Right, so Todd's like, look, I don't think he'll listen to me, but I promise I will talk to him and see what he's up to. So Billy goes to see Bernie at number 5 and says, what the hell is this screening? This is cheap entertainment and I shan't be going. And Todd finds Billy...
I get, like, why is Bernie doing... I know that she's not seeing eye to eye with Billy at the moment, but ever since Paul's death, she's
it's like she's been antagonising him. It's like every single decision
telling him things
she's made has, like, been in service of winding him up. But yeah, Gemma and Bernie did kind of... You can see how they accidentally forgot, they got carried away with an idea and they didn't remember to include him. But equally, I don't know that I would include him because he doesn't like the idea of it.
Do you think that it's a bit kind of morose what they're doing?
Morose,
just kind of sitting around... Watch. It is a bit.
It really It really does depend on what you're kind of. If it's a celebration of life, then that's different.
Like he said earlier, he's already had a rave
This
up.
will be his 3rd one. Even the Queen only had 1 funeral. I know she had 2 birthdays.
They are kind of sanctifying him a little bit here.
Well,
I know, went before his time, and
he didn't really get a send off that he wanted because number 1, he didn't plan it, and number 2. Billy and Bernie, Billy and Bernie both made their own ideas, and now this is her 2nd one. She just wants parties all the time.
Yeah.
So
we all cope with grief in different ways, eh?
I guess so, but I really hope that they address it in some way when Bernie finally gets to Wednesday and she's done this launch and she's had this party and this everyone round, and now she's going to have to actually stop and think, what now? Because really it feels like all of this has just been distracting herself.
You're absolutely right. You're right. She wants to feel like she's doing something to be a good mum because she's felt for so long that she was, she caused him to have MND and she abandoned him for so many years of her life. Like, what's going to be next for her?
If I give him the perfect send off, everything will be okay. Like the rave up it wasn't exactly perfect. I want it to be perfect, and this won't be. Yeah. Something will happen.
Well, I hope that Dev's going to be there to comfort her, because I think she is going to come down quite hard after it.
Well, Todd and Billy have a chat in Victoria Gardens, and Billy's saying, I feel bad. I tried to kiss you the other week.
I forgot about that.
No, me too. I'm glad they reminded us. And Bernie walks in and sits down by Billy, and Todd leaves them alone. And Bernie apologises, and they go back to Billy's flat, and she says, look, my head's been all over the place. I broke up with Dev. Please come to the party. I need you. And he agrees. But this again felt like unnecessary, because we already had the scene at the end of the rave where they both sat on the floor and cried with each other.
Yeah.
I thought they'd come to some kind of tacit agreement, and it was nice, and I thought it was closure, but then we're having it again.
Yeah, the story can absolutely end after this, as far as I'm concerned. Give them a break, Jane and Dan and all the rest of that lot. I mean, Shanique can't stop on the train that she's on at the moment. But
I can really have
a breather.
A break from Chesney and Gemma. I think they need to stop pretending that they're the poorest people on the street, because it's just nonsense. It just undermines people that live in real poverty. Chesney even makes a reference to benefits at a certain point.
Oh yeah, he did, didn't he?
And he said something like, I can't work more hours because I'll lose my benefits. But if he was having the benefits he was entitled to, he would get quite a substantial amount of money, which is only right. This is the kind of country I want to live in. I want to live in a country where you have 5 children and you have a certain amount. Those children, it's not, people also annoy me because it's not the money for the parents, it's for the children. We should be looking after the children. We should have the breakfast clubs. We should have milk. We should have all these things. If we agree to educate them, we should also agree that there's a certain level of minimum standards that we all want children to grow up in, because when they don't, we all see what happens. If anything, you should be selfish about it and say, I want to live in a country full of people that are well-adjusted, because well-adjusted people don't jump out at you when you're walking past an alleyway and try and mug you. Anyway, it just really annoys me. I seriously think they need to stop harping on them, because they're the most unlikely ones, and they just keep doing stupid stuff that makes it seem like they're not actually as poor as they are. Because there's my uncle's family when we were growing up were worse off than Gemma and Chesney. My uncle couldn't have sent anybody on a ski trip. Couldn't even afford to go to Butlins. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke.
Yeah, and I believe that Hilda and Stan were poor.
Yes, and they made stories out of it, and I just can't understand it. It doesn't feel difficult. It doesn't feel like it should be this difficult.
Well, they didn't have the money tree
to be
back
consistent
then, did they?
with. And also that some of the stuff that they come out with could be hand waved away. Like, where's Granny Linda gone? Why isn't she paying for Joseph's ski trip?
I think that Granny Linda's absence is bizarre during this. You'd have thought that this would have been perfect for her to swan in.
The trouble about Coronation Street, and I don't know how they can solve this problem particularly. The same reason why Sean's homeless story didn't work, because Coronation Street is a story about communities and people that care about each other. And most of the things that happen to you when you have like homelessness or poverty is because you don't have a support system and a community of people that care about you. And in Coronation Street, we're supposed to believe that everybody has got at least one person who cares about them.
I think at least one thing I do like about this whole family setup they've got is that they do feel close and they love each other, and there's not very many families with parents and kids on Coronation Street anymore, and I think that I definitely appreciate the bond that
they all stick out up for each other, and I think that's
that counts for a lot. Right, so possibly a new family coming up, Steve and Cassie. We just got a couple of episodes of them this week. They weren't in it on Friday, but Cassie is she's been kind of sniffing around Steve for a while, and I think she knows that she's almost got him reeled in, hasn't she? And she's at the beginning of Monday's episode kind of winding him up by telling him about this date she's got with a bloke called Troy, which Steve thought was a hilarious name. He's just like Troy. You can tell that Steve is a
bit jealous.
Yeah, a little bit jealous here. He was like, it's just like Roy with a T. What are you on about? So he takes her to see this Troy on a date. He's the one that's enlisted to drive the taxi, but then it doesn't work. It's just a bit of disaster, really. The guy walked out on her, and Steve offers to buy her a drink. So they go to the pub and have a bit of a booze, have a bit of a flirt, and Steve finally makes the move, doesn't he? He's the one that strokes her hand. It's because she's all dressed up, she's all glammed up like Claire Sweeney. You know, Cassie's usual look is a skank, and
ex-druggy skank.
It's the makeup department that do a fantastic job of making her look, like that. But she was. Oh
yeah, look down and out.
Brilliant on Wednesday.
So when Cassie dresses up like Claire Sweeney, it's a bit like when Abby dresses up like Sally Carmen.
Yeah, the characters can sometimes look a lot more glam
look a bit like
than
actresses.
They usually do. Yeah. Anyway, so she seems to be enjoying the attention that she's getting from Steve in the pub.
What did you think about this?
I don't mind.
I thought it was actually kind of sweet.
I think it's quite sweet.
She was charming and flirty, wasn't she?
Yeah.
I tell you, look, if Swain and Carla don't work out, watch out either of those two women, because Cassie could turn anybody.
I'm happy that Steve has got someone. I don't know what's going on with. I don't know what's going on with Tracy at the moment. I mean, she's barely been in it this year. Kate Ford has been away from the street for a while. Steve, as one of the main patriarchs or whatever you want to say of the street, he lives at number one. It kind of feels right that he's got a woman on his arm, and I think that Claire Sweeney coming in is a biggish name, pairing him up with Steve McDonald, that's not such a bad idea. But my problem is partly that I still don't know. I 95% trust her, but there's just a little niggle in the back of my mind of going, yeah, but sometimes Cassie is a bit of a git, like when she stole that £10 off Ken the other week, and I don't want to be disappointed, so I'm hesitant to 100% commit to this relationship. I think all relationships on Coronation Street go to pot in the end, but I would quite like this one to work. I think that they work well together. I think they bounce off each other. Steve's not a complete idiot when he's with her. I'm supportive. What about you?
I just think, like I said, Claire Sweeney is such a charismatic person, and when she was flirting with Steve in the morning on the Wednesday, although I usually find stuff like that really sickening and annoying, I thought she was so cute and sexy, and that was fun because we haven't seen that for a while, because Sally and Tim haven't been bonking quite as much as they used to.
Well, they might have been. That's probably why we haven't seen them. They just never get out of bed.
So from that perspective, it's good. Why is Steve living with Ken?
Well, it's because of Tracy, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Tracy's not there anymore.
I can't remember who owns the house at the moment.
Don't know who owns the house. I've forgotten who owns the house. Remember. But it's very, very weird that they're living there with Cat. I don't know what will happen, but I think it would work. I hope that. I don't know. Again, Claire Sweeney is a bit like
Maureen
Lipman, where it feels like they're bigger than the show, and I don't know how fair it is to say that over anybody else who are all really talented and wonderful, but they both feel like people to me who
they might just decide one day, like, I can't be bothered to do
this anymore. I've got I'm going to write a book, or I'm going to be in a film, or I'm going to do whatever I want to do.
I mean, Claire is loving being, from what I can tell, on Coronation Street. I mean, she's posted on Instagram today the pals scene and saying like, this is my favourite ever Corrie scene.
I love that she loves Corrie.
Yeah.
So from more than other actors, I just wonder how long she wants to be in it, and so I'm reluctant to invest with her, thinking she's got a ticking clock. But I don't know if I'm being unfair to her.
It's about time that she actually finally got together with Steve, because this has been bubbling away for what seemed like months.
Yeah, my point is that I would be thrilled if they got together, because I actually think that she might temper a bit of his manic.
I think so.
Insanity.
I think that she brings out Steve's best side.
Yeah, she does. Because I think Steve's just been in a series of relationships with henpeckers.
Yeah.
And she doesn't feel like a henpecker
No,
to me.
Totally. Michelle was the death knell for Steve, wasn't
yeah,
she?
I really
she
she
wore him down.
Spirit.
Exactly.
He ended up with depression.
And although I did enjoy the idea of Tracy and Steve together, and the whole childhood
Well, there's
sweetheart-ish
fun-
angle.
There's a certain element of fun of seeing these,
Corrie's all
dopey
about-
men being put in their place.
But I feel with Steve and Cassie that there's a bit more on the same level.
Yeah, they do feel
and that's
more
quite
equals.
refreshing,
Yeah.
actually. And on Wednesday, when they're
Yeah, why not
sneaking
try a relationship with a woman who likes you?
when they're sneaking down the stairs on Wednesdays, like
they were like
pair of naughty teenagers, I thought it was brilliant. And they have to come up with some ruse or some line about she came in 5 minutes ago and she's just been down to the loo or something, which Ken falls for. Adam gets involved in this, and that was kind of a bit of a downside for me. Like, I was enjoying this until he came in with his big size 10s and kind of ruins it all. He's just really.
He did a lot of standing around with his hands in his pockets or on his hips, didn't he?
He's just very suspicious of
out.
her taking advantage of Ken, and he tells. He drags Steve back to number one because he goes and gets him from the cab office at one point, and then they decide to start digging around in the lounge together, find Ken's finance folder, which is very handily in the Welsh dresser, starts having a look around in there, and then Ken pops out of the backyard. What's going on, he says, and Adam says, look, I'm just worried about you, I think Cassie's taken advantage, and Ken's like, well, actually, I had a win on the premium bond. So finally this is all out. I kind of lose track about who knew and who didn't know at this point. Did Cassie know? I think
Cassie knew because she's the one that told him.
Oh, yeah, of course. She's the one that said you should kind of live a little and go on holiday. And so Steve then starts quizzing Ken about it and is somewhat surprised to hear that Cassie was involved in setting up the idea of this holiday.
Well, she's the one that told him, don't spend your money on
Amy,
spend it on yourself, because there was that bit where it seemed as though she might be able to get her money back, and so Cassie was like, oh, that would be convenient, you don't need to give it to her. And so obviously Steve is very heartbroken or betrayed to find out that she was kind of the main instigator in his daughter being in financial difficulties, and we still don't know what's happening with that. Is she going to get her money back?
It'll probably be all fine.
It'll be fine in the end.
Anyway, this whole leads into a massive argument between Steve and Cassie. They're barely, the bed's barely gone cold after their night of passion, and already they're over. She's gone off to wherever it is, Porto with Ken, and
Porto sounds like
Steve's
a fake
left
place.
licking his wounds, having a bit of a sulk. And Adam says, well, this isn't over yet. We're going to stage a family intervention when they get back. He's just pleased to be involved in it, is Adam.
They're all dust.
Go away, Adam. We don't need you in
all
this.
Of these people, I'm just like, I would believe you more if you didn't stand to inherit money from him, and that's why you're kicking off.
Yeah, Adam just wants it for himself, doesn't he? He's
well,
already got the Baldwin fortune.
Billions. Probably, I don't think Steve's going to expect him to get any money off Ken, but
no,
Amy
sure.
will.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. They're all just like, oh no, why are you giving money to somebody else? You should give it to me. Old people shouldn't just be hanging around waiting to die so they can give their money. Also, they don't know, Ken could end up in a care home and they wouldn't get any money on it anyway.
Yeah.
Why don't you just enjoy it while he can? He's completely right. Ken's completely right.
He's totally right.
He's only got a limited amount of time where he's going to be confident and healthy enough to want to go abroad at all. Let him go.
Yeah, totally.
Stop being selfish assholes.
Yeah, I just hope that when they do this intervention, Cassie proves that she is on the level. Because I've loved the stuff with Cassie and Ken, and it all started off a bit strange about, we were promised this story where we find out how difficult it is for old people when they've had accents. We never got any of that, but it's just given us some really lovely warm scenes of Claire Sweeney and William Roach listening to music together. And
I know, but again, it's like Coronation Street got itself distracted, trying to do some kind of issue story, like we're doing an issue story about loneliness and old age, and then they go, oh, what if he wins the premium bonds and goes on holiday to Portugal? That's not a story about anything relatable.
No, but I don't mind. I don't
mind it at all.
I'd rather it was what it was than trying to teach us stuff all the time.
But it still would have been genuinely interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the way things are going, as far as we know, Rita's been sat in her house every time we haven't been watching her coming out, crying and looking at photos and drinking herself into a grave.
They had the story about Lonely Rita a few Christmases ago, and she had that cat, didn't she? And she would spend a few days underneath the Christmas tree and nobody noticed.
Nothing's changed for her.
Right, we've got a few other stories left. Let's power through to the end of this because most of the rest was only like one day's worth. So frail Gail, Gemma.
So Jessie,
yes,
has accepted Gail's offer of marriage with him to align the houses, give Gail one more surname before she leaves this earth. I wonder how tall her gravestone will be in the end. So Jessie says to Sarah and Audrey about the engagement, and Sarah thinks it's a joke, and Audrey is not very impressed at all, and they're very hostile about it. And Sarah,
especially Audrey.
Yeah, Jessie says, look, when you go visit her, you better look happy because
I'm surprised,
and she'll be sad otherwise. So Sarah and Audrey go to see Gail and like, is there any news?
Any news, ma'am?
and so she tells them, she's like, oh ma'am, the most wonderful news. And Audrey's like, oh, I don't believe it. They did they did a really good job of like being underwhelmed yet but trying desperately to
I thought they
act
played it
happy
really well.
without over egging it in case it encouraged her. So she's like, yes, seeing death, feeling its icy grip on my throat made me realise I want to live life to the max. And Audrey's like, you should maybe slow down a little bit. And Gail's like, no.
Sarah comes round to the idea a little bit, doesn't she? But Audrey's still very hesitant. I hope it doesn't lead into like Audrey versus Gail fallout. I haven't got time for that. Let's just have a suck it up and deal with it.
Do you think there might be a bit of jealousy here with Audrey? Or do you think, well, like she's older than Gail and she hasn't got a man, has she?
Well, she didn't need one, I don't think.
Well, no, but she did. She always wanted one. What do you mean she didn't need one? She's been spending her whole life jumping in and out of beds with people. Yeah. I wonder whether she's just like thinking, what's for me then? What do I get?
Didn't Gail steal Lewis off of Audrey? Maybe Audrey's going to make a move
Jessie.
on Chadwick next.
Yeah, she should do. Right, so back at Red Bank, Audrey's still resistant, but Sarah's like, I think it will be fine. And Jessie goes to streetcars to see if they do event cars so that he can take his have the wedding. This is when the engagement is revealed to Eileen, and she's like, rubbish, she's old enough to be your mother.
This is the obligatory, yes, Eileen is going to be partly involved in this story. I hope that they take this idea and run with it. I mean, this was literally just Monday and nothing's happened since, but
to me, I'm
Eileen
concerned
needs to be a part of this story more.
Because every time Eileen has been confronted with this relationship with Jessie and Gail, George has been there and seen how bitter and cynical and sarcastic and rude Eileen has been, and it makes me wonder whether this is going to be George and Eileen break up again, because I don't want to see that boring.
Yeah, because if they do, they're not going to stay broken up, are they?
Every time she's like, he looks at her like really disgusted. He looks actually quite shocked at how unpleasant she is. But I find that hard to believe that he's not. Like sat next to her when she's watched a TV show with somebody in it that she doesn't like. I bet she's like me, always moaning and bitching on about somebody that she doesn't like.
Right, well we will wait and see what happens.
She better watch herself, because that's why my appendix had to come out.
The Toya Nick Leanne story just kind of spun on its wheels a little bit on Monday. Basically, you got what?
Well, yeah.
What?
No, it didn't really, because we had a bit of a fairly big...
Well, Toya decides that she is going to accept Nick's job offer of being temporary manager at the bistro because Leanne wants to take a step back and do more of the boring financial work. Maybe after half an hour she'll be like Billy and she'll like, actually...
No, I quit.
Put me front of house again, yeah. So Toya is like, I don't know whether that's going to work, and Nick convinces her that it could be good for their relationship and it could help Leanne see that actually we work quite well together, and maybe she'll be more amenable to the idea when we reveal what we've been getting up to when her back's turned. And there's a little scene in the office where Leanne says to Nick, well, I suppose it's okay. I guess it's not like you're going to be at it in the office, is it? Well, we all know that...
That was a super naive thing.
We all know that Toya loves a good desk bonk, don't we? From the days with him ran in the lawyer's office. So watch this space.
Nothing she loves more. Dirty minx.
And then finally we had a little bit. We kind of talked about it already.
We really.
The Mason story on Friday, because Liam's therapy gets brought up again. I don't know whether this was the beginning of something or whether it was just a coda to, the Corrie people saying, "Oh, remember when Liam had his therapy?" People were probably wondering if he's better now.
I wonder
and
why
it turns out he is.
They didn't show any sessions or anything.
No, I don't need it.
I'd be interested. I want to know what they talk about. Even Gary asks him, "What do you talk about?" And he's like, "Oh, it's kind of boring."
This and that.
So, but Mason and Liam sort of see each other, and Liam's kind of running away, and while he's trying to run away from Mason, he nearly gets run over by Chesney, and Mason saves him, and they kind of like, Mason's like, "You're not trying to top yourself again, are you? Like, I'm sorry about that time I nearly drove you to kill yourself." And he's like, look, I'm over it. I don't care about you. And Mason's like, "Look, I am sorry about everything."
Well, he's spent a bit of time behind bars, and I think he has learned a lesson. We did get a little bit, do you remember when he got the job back at Speed Dial and Betsy convinced him to do it so that he could do over Yasmin and Stu? That kind of evaporated away, didn't it?
I think
we're supposed to think that
Betsy
Mason,
some kind of innocent Snow White character,
I know,
shocked
totally.
her mum killed a bloke.
I think that Mason has learnt his lesson at this point.
I don't know how fair this is. The trouble with this storyline is that when it was on, loads of people who had been bullied at school sort of saw themselves in Liam, and they were talking about child suicide, and it is horrific, and it's more frequent than you would ever want it to be.
Yeah, people really related to this, and now to see the
bully, villain, not really getting any comeuppance in any way that a sane person would want to see. Like, okay, it's all very well to say that somebody should be punished and live a terrible life, but this boy's being like attacked by his brothers. He's homeless. He's been in prison, and he's down on his luck. He hasn't got anything going for him. That's not really the sort of thing I want to, can you take pleasure in that? I guess if you... I'd rather see him sort of like realise what a dick he's been, and then go away and we don't see him again and we just hear his good deeds by word. So I don't know, is he redeemed? I don't know, what do you...
I think he
hasn't really been redeemed, because he was still trying to get on with, we didn't see why he didn't do over Yasmin and Stu. We didn't see what he did when Betsy came crying to him. We know that he didn't want to burgle that place with a crowbar, but we don't know why, really.
Maybe we're going to feel sorry for him, and maybe he will end up like going along with what his brother is saying one time, and he'll go back to the dark side, and then that will be the... I'm not sure. I really don't know what... I'm not certain
about it.
It's a strange path for him.
I guess it's fair that there's no such thing as black and white, and and I did say, again, we're really fickle about this kind of stuff, because we said about Aaron, when Aaron was in it, what kind of message does it send, and is it helpful to say anyone could do this, but also anyone can be forgiven? Because I agree with that. But I just don't think it's fair to ask the victims to be the one that does the forgiving. And in this case, Liam is kind of being the bigger person.
Yeah.
And if you're watching it, because we had, some really, really heartfelt messages from people, like parents of people who had been abused horrifically. And I can't imagine them watching this going, "Oh yeah, that's fine, Mason's
Maybe I should just try and make up with my bully."
Well...
Yeah.
Because Mason was horrible.
Yeah.
And he all he's done is said, "Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, look at me, I'm eating pizza out of a bin. Basically what we had happen on Friday was Gary gets wind of this little thing between... Because I think Mason's kind of having a bit of fun with Liam. He gives him a bit of a funny shake, doesn't he? Which Dev sees.
Yeah, see, he's still being a dick.
A little bit.
He kind of goes like, "Rah!"
Yeah. And Gary gets a bit mad about this, and basically Liam says that it's okay, I think I'm feeling better about it now. And because Maria I can't remember
well, she can't believe what she's hearing when Gary tells her about the near miss.
Oh yeah, with the car.
And they're worried about Liam, and he's not telling them everything, and Gary's like, well, maybe he didn't want you to worry about him.
Yeah, Liam basically just says, "I want to carry on with my therapy for a bit longer."
I really enjoyed the scene with Gary and Liam where they're talking, and he's just seeing how he is, and
yeah.
And Liam says that I'm okay with.
Well, he does his "I want to live" thing,
I want to live.
He?
That
So
was
that's all nice.
That was very sweet and heartening, and if that's the end of this story,
yeah,
it has a closure to it.
Yeah, I mean, there's clearly more to come for Mason, but I don't feel at the moment that I need the Liam aspect to go much further than it. But maybe they've got some great ideas up their sleeves.
But it's nice that they addressed it and they sort of said, it's ongoing. Liam's still coping with the
So what are we giving this week's Corrie? I think that's about it.
Well, I think I liked it more now I've talked about it, because I was a bit annoyed about today's episodes because, like I said, so much happened that was just odd. It just felt like a weird episode, and I can't really put my finger on.
I just think that the Joel story dominated just a little bit too much, and some of the flashbacks were a bit low effort, like I said before. They even made a whole thing of, like, Daisy calls it the Weatherfield Blues, and I think that was a little bit on the nose considering what everyone else is saying about Corrie being a police show at the moment. But it was all right. I think I'll probably go like maybe 3 dogs that look like Noel Edmonds out of 5 for this week.
Oh my goodness.
What about you?
3 added T's to make it sound more exotic.
Troy. Character of the week this week. I don't know whether it's Dev, just for making me laugh.
Yes, it's Dev for me, because that scene, I was
definitely Dev.
It's like I left my body and I was watching myself watch it.
Yeah, I don't know whether anybody in the Joel story particularly.
I know that loads of
people.
Lisa Swain's going to be their character of the week.
Yeah, from now until eternity.
Yeah, I think it goes without saying. It was really great to see her bathroom. Sounds weird, but I kind of like the way that they're taking a bit of risks with making her not like a complete pushover, likable doormat. And she does make mistakes. She's not infallible, and just her being a raging cow to Daisy was Daisy does need to be put in her place every now and then.
Yeah. Right. Did I give it a character of the week? I'm going to say Dev as well.
You said Dev, and
I say Dev. Both say Dev. He was great.